don't know how I would stop, like it or not. I got some goals that I'm hitting, you hear what I'm spitting, it's hot. Look what I got, whole lot of passion and pain. The road to success is insane, stay out my lane, cause I'm on a mission, I'm getting what stands in my way. Yeah, I'm a beast, I wouldn't play with me, baby. The way that I'm training is crazy, and I do it daily. You wanna talk about drive? I got more drive than Mercedes, I've never been lazy. I'm in the room, it's a red alert. You wanna compete, well get better first. I got 10 toes in the dirt, push through the hurt just to show them my worth, I'm the best. Yeah, I'm the best. I never stress, I know what's next. I'm who they test, like we playing chess. But I'm unimpressed, so now let me flex. Ha, yeah, I'ma work through the struggle and hurt, cause I know my worth, and I gotta be first. Ha, yeah, I gotta be first. Look, I don't want anyone's sympathy, I understand what it's meant for me. I give my focus and energy. If it's meant to be, then it's meant to be. But mentally, I'm undefeated. They hear that and say I'm conceited, like there's no reason, like I don't beat them and come back again just to teach them that when you work under pressure, you reach higher measures. They'll try and bring you down, but you cannot let them, and only get better and focus on cheddar. Eye on the prize and you'll become a legend. Like, when I'm in the room, it's a red alert. You wanna compete, well get better first. I got 10 toes in the dirt, push through the hurt just to show them my worth, I'm the best. Yeah, I'm the best. I never stress, I know what's next. I'm who they test, like we playing chess. But I'm unimpressed, so now let me flex. Ha, yeah, I'ma work through the struggle and hurt, cause I know my worth, and I gotta be first. Ha, yeah, I gotta be first. They don't know what's gotten into me, how'd I turn pain into energy. Through all the struggle and hurt, remember my worth, and that's why I gotta be first. Welcome to the place where dreams come true, where everything you want can be yours, if and only if you're willing to work for them, you're willing to hurt for them, but most of all, you're willing to be first for them. Ha! Look, I'm going straight to the top. I don't know how I would stop, like it or not. I got some goals that I'm hitting. You hear what I'm spitting, it's hot. Look what I got, whole lot of passion and pain. The road to success is insane. Stay out my lane, cause I'm on a mission. I'm getting what stands in my way. Yeah, I'm a beast, I wouldn't play with me, baby. The way that I'm training is crazy, and I do it daily. You wanna talk about drive? I got more drive than Mercedes. I've never been lazy. I'm in the room, it's a red alert. You wanna compete? Well, get better first. I got 10 toes in the dirt, push through the hurt just to show them my worth. I'm the best. Yeah, I'm the best. I never stress. I know what's next. I'm who they test, like we playing chess. But I'm unimpressed, so now let me flex. Ha. Yeah, I'ma work through the struggle and hurt, cause I know my worth, and I gotta be first. Ha. Yeah, I gotta be first. Look, I don't want anyone's sympathy. I understand what it's meant for me. I give my focus and energy. If it's meant to be, then it's meant to be. But mentally, I'm undefeated. They hear that and say I'm conceited, like there's no reason. Like I don't beat them and come back again just to teach them that when you work under pressure, you reach higher measures. They'll try and bring you down, but you cannot let them, and only get better and focus on cheddar. Eye on the prize and you'll become a legend. Like, when I'm in the room, it's a red alert. You wanna compete? Well, get better first. I got 10 toes in the dirt, push through the hurt just to show them my worth. I'm the best. Yeah, I'm the best. I never stress. I know what's next. I'm who they test, like we playing chess. But I'm unimpressed, so now let me flex. Ha. Yeah, I'ma work through the struggle and hurt, cause I know my worth, and I gotta be first. Ha. Yeah, I gotta be first. They don't know what's gotten into me, how'd I turn pain into energy. Through all the struggle and hurt, remember my worth, and that's why I gotta be first.
What defines the best Clash Royale player? Is it the best micro, the best macro, the best deck building? Is it being great at duels? Is it great at being Mega Draft? What about being great at 2v2? What if we answered all those questions right here today? Hello and welcome to the Snapdragon Pro Series Season 3 Finals. I'm Rich Slayton, joined by Cashman and Mini Mentor, and we have a great show for you today. Cashman, I know you're pumped up about this one.
I am very excited, and the reason I'm excited is because it's going to be the first time this year in Snapdragon Tournament that the champion will not be named Mohamed Light. Yes, it feels weird, but oddly satisfying. I'm very excited. What about you, Minnie? How are you feeling today?
Day one was amazing, full of upsets and excitement. Day two is going to be a blast as well. I am ready to get this show on the road.
Well, let's get right to it. The Snapdragon Pro Series Season 3 Final starts now.
Going till a player on top, know it. Rooftop, penthouse, sweet. If you really want it, gotta own it. Fight through it, we was at the lowest. Blood, sweat, tears, the components. Riding all year, now's the moment. We are not friends, we are opponents. Yeah, I'm coming for mine. Yeah, I'm making a play, the game on the line. Yeah, I've been on the grind. Yeah, I jump in the spot, I made it my time. Yeah, look in the sky. Yeah, the stars align, no shade to shine. Can't stop it already. Emotional work and devotion, we put in this time. Look, you won't stop.
This is it, the Season 3 finale for the Snapdragon Pro Series. Welcome, I'm Rich Slayton, joined by Cashman and Minnie to bring you the semifinals and the finals of this phenomenal tournament. Of course, if you're not already, take the chance right now to follow the Snapdragon Pro Series on all social media, Twitter, Instagram, and beyond to make sure you never miss a moment of the action we have here in Clash Royale and all sorts of mobile games. And speaking of all sorts of mobile games, we do stuff in Clash Royale, Brawl Stars, Clash of Clans, and beyond. So go ahead and sign up on the Discord right now because this is the era of everyone. And the everyone means you too as well. You could be competing in a competition just like this one next time. So go to the Discord and find out how you can get involved in the Snapdragon Pro Series. Speaking of involved, speaking of the Snapdragon Pro Series, Cashman, we have a phenomenal tournament here. We're down from 8 teams to 4, and they are playing a difficult and exciting format for Clash Royale.
Yeah, we talked about 3 modes in one. How does that work? That sounds complicated, but it is not. We already saw yesterday how the format works, but let's do a little refresher. Each team has 2 players on the team. It will be single elimination, so if you lose, you're out. The first set will be the duel format, so 1 player from each team will have to participate in the arena, and then the second set will be Mega Draft, where the other player will have to compete in the arena. And if we get to a third and final set, the tiebreaker, all players will have to get into the arena because we're going to 2v2, and oh man, 2v2 is a mode that I just love to watch. But these players aren't just playing for fun, they're playing for prizes, for money. Minnie, what are those prizes looking like today?
The prize pool is ready and set. Yesterday in our day one, we saw who was taking those 5 through 8 slots, $500 down to all those respective teams. Today, it is time to see who is going to get that #1 grand prize of $4,000.
And we are, of course, as Minnie said, down to our top 4 teams, having gone through our first round yesterday. Today, of course, the semifinals and the grand finals with the 4 duos, our 8 remaining players. Let's look at the bracket as it stands right now. Doom and Faust for SKX MKers going up against Surgical Goblin and Vitor in what's sure to be an explosive matchup. And then the 2 teams that really stood out on the bottom side of the bracket, the Polish duo, Inthrill and Titan, who were phenomenal yesterday, completely in sync, and the powerhouse duo of Bob the Rock and Sosa. But you talk about this bracket, we have to look at the road to get here. You talked about at top of the show, Cashman, Mohamed Light and Lucas X Gamer beaten by Doom and Faust. They are out. This was a wild competition yesterday where Doom and Faust really showed their high level.
Yeah, they were big. I don't even know what to say. I still don't believe that Mohamed Light and Lucas are not in this tournament, but there's a reason they're not in this tournament, and it wasn't because they played horrible. It's because Faust and Doom played that much better. They looked elite. They looked like a team, and that's the big part about this tournament. It's not about you playing well. It's about your team playing well, and if we're looking at what team played the best, well, they got to be one of the best ones here.
They were absolutely tremendous yesterday. A season-making performance, and one of the ones I'm sure they'll hang on their wall. On the bottom side of the bracket, we had two teams that also really stood out in their performances, and one of those is the Polish power duo of Titan and Inthril. Both of those players currently in the top 40 overall for our points leaderboard. Minnie, I'll start with you. What was so great about Titan and Inthril together?
Oh, they were absolutely in sync. It just seemed like they were one big cohesive unit. It didn't seem like there were two different players, but one just amazing player taking the stage. They had great deck picks, great micro to go along, and I think they're going to be putting up a great fight today against this LeBron team, Shame of Sosa and Bob the Rock that we have on the other semifinal.
And that's, I'm going to keep this here with you, Minnie, because I know that our next team to talk about is the one that you are most excited about. That's LeBron James, your home team for you going ahead. You really, really liked their performance yesterday. Bob the Rock and Sosa, they came out swinging, Minnie.
100% a 4-0 sweep against a former world finalist in Wallace and the current world finalist in Arden Toas. Not an easy task in the slightest, but that's what happens when you can play your best Clash Royale without letting nerves get to you. And I think we saw a great exhibit of that in Bob the Rock, who has already had that pro experience playing for CRL and Misfits, and Sosa, who is already in the running to make these world finals later on in this year. Just really solid Clash Royale from the both of them, and I am hoping that we get to see some other brooms pulled out today, slam dunk, and honestly, they're my pick to get this championship.
Now, of course, those two teams will be facing each other in our second of two semifinals. So the LeBron James duo of Bob and Sosa against Inthril and Titan, the team out of Poland that has been absolutely phenomenal as well. But that's our second semifinal, our first semifinal of the day. We are, of course, showing you both semis and our grand final. Our first semifinal of the day, though, Cashman, is going to be an absolute heater. The duo that took down Mohamed Light, that took down Lucas, Doom, and Faust, up against our former world champion in Surgical Goblin and three-time world finalist Vitor. This one has everything in the making for a banger of a matchup.
If I'm looking at this matchup, this might be my finals. I'm looking at the King Killers, the King Slayers with Doom and Faust. Amazing matchup. And then we look at the other side. We look at Vitor, who has a ton of experience in the pro scene, criminally underrated. And then Surgical Goblin. He said last year, I'm coming back. We didn't really see it so far this year. We've seen glimpses of it. And yesterday, what we saw Surgical Goblin do, if he's able to continue that, what he was doing, not only will he do well in this tournament, I could see him succeed for the rest of this year. We could see him in the World Finals still.
It's currently number 15 on the leaderboards. Let's take a look at what their lineups will be, and no changes here from the SKX MKers duo. Doom came out yesterday in dual mode and was absolutely fantastic. Faust went out with Mega Draft, and of course they were great in the 2v2 later. So sticking with that same lineup, and Minnie, we saw Doom be great yesterday. We saw Faust in the Mega Draft. What we didn't see was Vitor in Mega Draft due to his opponent being DQ'd for not showing up. How do you like Vitor in this Mega Draft set?
Oh, I'm excited. From your Mega Draft brackets for Vitor, I'm not sure if he had any major successes because we know Molet was running mayhem through them, but Vitor is a player who has been in the game for so long, such great experience and game knowledge that's been throughout, so I'm really excited to see the decks that he can put together. He's a player that can play any given deck on any given day, whether it's Cycle, RG Control, and maybe even a little bit of surprise with some beatdown, so I'm really excited to see him get into the action today. He is debuting on day 2, but we'll see if he can carry over that veteran experience into a win for Vitor and Surge.
Well, speaking for any given day, yesterday really felt like that, as it was the underdog or the odd man out in every single round that took the win. When we get to our predictions, it would be two of us picking one way, the third picking another, and the third always won, which left us with this three-way tie. 2 points for each of us, meaning It's still literally anyone's game here today, folks. I could be the best predictor. Maybe Cashman does it. Maybe Mini does it. So let's get started right now and see who's taking that big old lead. Let's get to our predictions here for this matchup. Mini, let's go ahead and start with you. Is it going to be the former world champion and the three-time world finalist, or will Doom and Faust once again carry the day and take another big-time victory on the way to the finals?
I'm definitely going to have to go with the German duo on this one. They just showed such great Clash Royale. It should translate to today. I know Doom kind of had to pick up the slack a little bit with Faust in that second set, but if anybody needs a team motivator, if anybody needs somebody to get the team in the game, it's Doom. And I'm going to take the German duo in this first semifinal.
I'm going to go ahead and join you there with the way that Doom and Faust were playing yesterday, and not just in the head-to-head play, but how in sync they were for 2v2, how dominant they were in 2v2. I really like those two, so I'm going to go with that one. Cashman, are you joining us on this train, or are you going to go ahead and continue that Surge's back narrative?
Guys, what are we even talking about? We're talking about the Kingslayers. I rode with them yesterday. Faust and Doom, they are him. But I'm going with Surgical Goblin and Vitor, because Surgical Goblin, I said it before, he's back, and I think today is going to be his day, and I'm excited to see it.
Well, there you have it. We'll see. This is either to be a big jump out front for Cashman here, or you're to be left in the dust. We'll find out here in just a little bit, as we are getting very, very close to kicking off this first of two semifinals. So, of course, as we're waiting for that to happen, if you didn't already, again, I'm going to keep telling you, get in the Discord for this Snapdragon Pro Series. There's stuff happening in whatever mobile game you play. It's happening here. It's happening for you. This is the era of everyone. Make sure you can get in the game and join us. Maybe next time it'll be myself, Mini, and Cashman talking about how you're on the rise, and maybe one day even talking about how you're back. Who knows? But that's the only way it's going to happen, if you get in the mix as well. So we are, again, just a couple of moments away from our first semifinal. Mini, yesterday we saw, it seemed like the set that people had the most difficulty adapting to was that mega draft. Some players really had a great draft strategy, and some players just looked lost out there. What is your advice for players going into that mega draft set today to give themselves a slightly better performance, especially in the draft portion?
I definitely want to see players play to their strengths. We saw a lot of players trying to innovate, get a little fancy, maybe didn't end up working in the end, maybe not having a good win con, or maybe not having the right card because they focused too much on being too fancy that they can't counter their opponent's decks. So I just want to see players play to their strengths. We saw Nate in his Mega Draft set picking Miner right out of the gate in both of the Mega Draft games worked to a T. If you build a deck around something that you know you're good with, then good things will happen. So definitely just gotta stay focused, play to your strengths, and drafts.
And Cashman, yesterday in the 2v2 set, we saw some players go back to what was at one point one of the top decks in 2v2, the quad bait. And then there was one key factor, one key difference. Firecracker, the evolved Firecracker in the 2v2 bait just kind of killed 2v2 bait. Do you think that people need to be really thinking about how Firecracker specifically gets involved and how they're going to line people up in front? Or was that kind of a fluky situation that we saw with the double bait deck?
The problem right now in Clash Royale, I'm going to say it, I think the Evo Firecracker is the best card that I have ever seen. And the reason it's so good is there's not really a clear answer to be like, hey, I have this card, I can put it in my deck, and now Evo Firecracker, it's gone. It's always going to be a negative elixir trade, and especially in 2v2 when both players can have Evo Firecrackers and they could use that at the same time or split them up, it can overwhelm. We saw it yesterday. One Firecracker can change the entire tides of battle, so I wouldn't be surprised in this 2v2 format that we just see more and more and more. But is there a way that you can kind of get around that? Is there a world where we see maybe people pivoting to go to the skies? That's one thing that I remember seeing a lot of 2v2 in this tournament. People would go Lava Hound, they'd go to the skies. Is it the right strategy? I don't know for sure. I think it could catch some people off guard, and getting one game under your belt, a lot of times that's all you need.
Mini, you're obviously known as a Royal Giant player, as one of your top decks, but you know Lava Hound pretty well on top of that. Kind of going on Cashman's thought as we get ready to go into game, and we'll leave you with this thought to go. Do you think Lava Hound is the answer in 2v2 for those Firecrackers?
No.
All right, well, simple to the point, and let's go ahead and jump into it. You know what, Cashman, if there's anything I would recommend as a future career for Mini after Clash Royale professional play, it's not politics.
I just like it straight to the point. No, you know what? Maybe after I said it, I was like, you know what? That is kind of dumb. I can't believe I said that out loud. I'm glad he got to set me straight. And right out of the gate, we're not seeing Firecracker. We're seeing double Evo Giants, and especially at the back.
Well, that's the new way to play Royal Giant, right? Because it only takes, you only have to get to a second cycle to get your evolved Royal Giant. So, heck, play it in the back first play just so you get evolved Royal Giant in cycle for the next sequence as fast as possible. So, it's a very a strange and interesting development in the world of Royal Giants.
I like that little tutorial. It's, hey, if you have the Evo card, play the Evo card. And then if you don't have the Evo card, still play the card, because you can get back to your Evo card and then play more Evo cards. And ooh, very satisfying at the beginning. It looks almost like an absolute mirror, but we're seeing a lot of damage come out of Surgical Goblin early. And we saw him yesterday dominate with this deck. And it looks like he's just putting the pedal to the metal even today.
You know, I do wonder a bit to that same point. I don't have the data on this. Maybe Royale API would have it or Stats Royale would have it. But how has the change been since the evolutions in a typical Royal Giant game or a game with Firecracker? The number of Royal Giants or Firecrackers played now compared to how often they would be played in a game pre-evolution. Oh my word. Forget all that. Hold on. We'll come back to that conversation in a minute. The Fisherman off into nowhere for Doom, and that's an evolved Royal Giant just taking off his coat, putting his hat on the rack, and taking a seat on the couch, making himself at home on Mini's side of the board.
Yeah, and look at Surge. He just keeps going in. He's like, okay, I have an opportunity. You made a mistake. I see this mistake. I'm going to capitalize on this opportunity. And now the left side is going down to 798, and even the King Tower is at 2,982. Doom played amazing yesterday. He was the Kingslayer. He dethroned Mohamed Light. But Surgical Goblin, maybe, I don't know, treating him with the mistake from Doom was uncharacteristic. I want to just make sure that this doesn't affect him in the next game, in the game after that, because he is a little bit of an emotional player. He does wear his heart on his sleeves, and that's a better Fisherman, but that left side tower, that's gone, Rich. That's gone.
Yeah, Fireball will finish that off without too much difficulties, even if Doom somehow gets the left side down. That left side for his own building is going to be in trouble. This is the big question here, is how much can Doom get on this right-hand tower? And my guess is not enough to make this into a competitive game one.
I was going to say the exact same thing. Not enough, and that's a very, very healthy right side tower. We're not even going to get to a two-tower situation, because there it is. Surgical Goblin fireballs the left side tower, 2 crowns out of the gate, and Surgical Goblin. Rich, I was saying it before. He's back! He's back!
Well, I know a lot of fans would certainly be excited, and of course, CRL World Finals with Surgical Goblin would be very cool, but right now he has a different job in front of him, and that's finishing this off against Doom. Mirror match game number 1. What's the likelihood that they both go Firecracker here in game 2?
I think that's very safe for Surgical Goblin. Whenever I think of Firecracker in duel format, it's almost like it's just like it's a guaranteed win. That's what it feels like. If you just don't make a mistake, it's just one of those decks that you can just win with. And it looks like Surgical Goblin is probably going to go with Hog EQ Firecracker. Oh, maybe going with the Monk. Why go for the Monk? Just to counter the Firecracker of your opponent? I really like that addition, actually.
Yeah, just to get some nice little reflections here, and he's not going to counter this place. He wants the, he's not going to be close enough for the King Tower activation, but protecting his own Firecracker nicely.
Yeah, and I really like the patience for the Monk. Because he waited so long to pop the ability, he was able to reflect the Firecracker damage, take out the Firecracker, but also deal a little bit of damage to his opponent's tower. And those are just little plays that I'm noticing from Surgical Goblin these days, where it looks like he's in form. It looks like he's been practicing. He knows the meta. He's played with these evolutions, and he just feels comfortable. He's back, Rich. He is back.
Well, we still have another 2 minutes to figure out this one, but certainly things looking good for the former world champion right now, as he's got a pretty solid push in deep. This will die pretty heavily on the Vine, as there should be no problems for Doom to control here. Nice prediction out of Doom, just to force out a little extra elixir. And you know, you talk about some of these plays, Cashman, that wasn't about getting on tower. It was about maintaining an elixir advantage, as you see Doom still about up by 3.
Yeah, and now abusing that 3-card cycle, getting the Hog Rider, not going to be able to get out on tower just with this Inferno Tower on the right side, but going very aggressive on the left side with this Mighty Miner, forcing out the Firecracker, but gets immediately taken out by the Firecracker on the right side. Doesn't go for the prediction log here, uses the bomb from the Mighty Miner, is not going to sadly get on tower with the help of that Ice Spirit, but Doom is just has a little bit of advantage right now momentum-wise, and he is doing exactly what Surge did last game, and he just is going in. Again, we're seeing another Hog Rider on this right side.
Yeah, this one maybe was a little bit over-aggressive, and that's going to be a nice, easy reflection from the Monk to mitigate the Evolve Firecracker, although I'm surprised she survived the first shot there. That was kind of wild, and Doom now starting to open up the lead.
Yeah, and this is the first Hog Rider we see from Surgical Goblin. He just really hasn't been able to get these defenses down so he can transition that defense into offense, but that Firecracker on the left side is really going to help his situation because that tower already goes down to 2,400, and the right side tower of Doom is at 2,280. So he does have options, decides to go in this left lane, but I like that Surgical Goblin is now focusing a little bit more on offense. But he still has to watch out for these Hog Riders because they've been getting on tower a lot, and these Firecrackers, a little bit of extra damage coming in. No, with the help of the Monk, he's going to be able to reflect ability, but that Hog Rider's on tower, and Rich, I think this game's over.
Yeah, that's game over. It's a hard situation for Surgical Goblin there because with having the Monk and the Inferno Tower, he has 2 extra elixir for that cycle that his opponent with the near mirror but very important differences of the Mighty Miner and Bomb Tower doesn't have. And when you're talking Hog for Hog, EQ for EQ, or Firecracker for Firecracker, having 2 fewer elixir to get through overall on the weight of your deck makes that a whole lot easier for Doom. So here we go. Takes advantage of the matchup situation, gets himself into a game 3, and Surge opens up with Barbs.
Is it a mirror match?
I'm not sure if it'll be a full mirror.
No, it's going to be Mortar Miner for Doom, so not going with the Evo Barbs, probably going with the Evo Mortar. And I love how Doom is going very aggressive. Like, he's not scared to go in. And I don't know if that's a naive confidence or if that's just he knows this matchup. He immediately recognized, oh, you're playing Graveyard? Okay, well, let me start putting on this pressure. Let me get this damage lead in single elixir because we know how threatening the double elixir can be when you get against Graveyard. And archers are going to get on tower. That's not insignificant damage. That's going to take the tower down to what? 2,624. And just like that, maybe that was a little too aggressive from Doom.
Yeah, the snowball. He was trying to make sure he got as many of the skeletons off as possible, but left both the archers unscathed. And there you see the result. So now one more time, Doom splitting. This time with the Skarmy to control the evolved barbarians on both sides. This will handle the situation fairly nicely.
Yeah, and if you're Surgical Goblin, you just got to play patient. You got to mitigate as much damage as possible because we know how powerful Graveyard is. I'm going to guess that he's playing the Freeze version. That's the one that we've seen a lot. You could play Poison, but we know the last 2 cards. One's going to be Graveyard, one's going to be either Freeze or Poison. And I really like the Freeze in this deck because if your opponent tries to defend with Skeleton Army, with Skeleton King, you can just freeze all those units and the tower, and you can get a lot of damage. With this counter push, it's looking scary, but I want to see how Surgical Goblin defends it.
Popping the ability early here is Doom, and the Barbs surround to control it, but it's the healthy Musketeer as the first mortar does finally come down for Doom. And this is huge, right? We don't see as much Musketeer being played these days. She's making a bit of a comeback, and the longer that Doom can keep her on the board and get value for that 4 elixir, the better it's going to be for him. And you can see back to another Muskie right now. He's going to lean on her throughout the match. And the late Skarmy here to control what could have been a whole lot more damage either way. Surgical Goblin opens up the lead with 30 seconds left by about 400 HP.
I like that he was confident enough to just use the freeze in that situation, because a lot of people, when you look at decks, when you have, let's say, a Lava Loon deck or a Graveyard Freeze deck, you think, okay, I have to use the one after the other. I have to use Graveyard and then the freeze. But no, freeze can get a lot of value on offense and on defense. And these little interactions, he was able to get, what, 600 damage just with one freeze? And that's invaluable. And there he is. Now we're seeing a defensive freeze, and Archer's up high, Inferno Dragon up high. Does he have anything for the Skeleton Army, though?
That Skarmy was absolutely brilliant. That's going to get Mortar on tower. That's going to get some more damage. And now Doom just doubling down here. If he can hold these Evo barbs off just a little bit longer, he can be in pretty good shape. Musketeer down to the middle. Bats to work against the Inferno Dragon and the Evo barbs. That was a phenomenal sequence. Let's make sure we pull that in the replay booth. That whole sequence from Doom was absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, and this is why I think he was able to deal with Mohamed Light as well as he did yesterday. It just, even the first game, we saw him have maybe a little bit of a mistake, maybe two mistakes, with going in with the Royal Giant a little too early, and then also that Fisherman to pull the Royal Giant. He made mistakes, but right away I'm noticing, okay, it's not affecting him. He's playing the game he's playing the game he loves. Poison on defense for this Graveyard is going to be very, very clean. And right now, with 1 minute and 10 seconds left, Surgical Goblin has to figure out a way to get control of this game, but these Mortars and these Musketeers are being a problem.
I do not understand. There were a couple of cloned or ghost skeletons from the Skeleton King that seemed like they walked into the poison and just somehow avoided the ticks. So I don't know how the heck. Oh, that was Doom's poison. Never mind. I'm so used to poison being offensive. Absolutely.
Oh yeah, no, I do that. I do that all the time as well. Yeah, they should really make it a little bit more noticeable.
Friendly fire. Turn it on. Here we go. 35 seconds left. Good day. Look at this damage on the left-hand side, though. Oh, my word. Oh, my word. Oh, my word. Surgical Goblin absolutely shreds the left-hand side, catches Doom sleeping, and goes ahead and snuffs him out with a pillow.
Rich, it's official. Surge is back. That was incredible. That was amazing. When you think of how to play Graveyard, you think of control. You think of single lane. You think of, okay, I defend, build a counter push, play my Graveyard, and that's my attack. But no, Surgical Goblin, he did do that, but he also did other things to get Doom out of his comfort zone. And he did that to perfection, no?
He was absolutely brilliant there. Look, Doom had that completely under control. But the dual lane pressure there, this was some great move. This second matchup really just, in my opinion, looks kind of a rough pick for Surgical Goblin. You know, talk to Ian, who's one of the best Hog players, if not the best Hog player on the planet, who is still kind of iffy on Monk being a Hog just because of what it does to your cycle, that being your mini tank. But this was the interesting one, right? You saw Doom struggle a bit early in this matchup and then totally find his footing. And there's this sequence right here where you see the Inferno Tower, or the Inferno Dragon and the Archers trying to break through. The Skarmy comes out after the freeze, and this was just complete brilliance on the part of Doom, and it looked like from this point forward, this was going to be GG, well played. Let's go ahead and give set number 1 to Doom. But look at this on the left-hand side. Just some ghostly skeletons from the Skeleton King that was popped in the middle there by Surgical Goblin. Really well-timed freeze, and there we go, getting it done. So that's our set number 1 all the way finished. Let's go into our second set. Faust and Vitor in Mega Draft, and we're wasting no time here. Spells, Lightning Snowball, Barb Barrel, Rage, Rocket, NATO, and Vitor seeing Miner on the board, Skeleton Barrel on the board, going ahead picking that NATO. And you know, one thing I'm looking at here, the danger. Flying Machine in the mix, Cashman, but no Fireball, no Poison, and Faust now taking the only spell methodology you're going to have to get that off in a reliable way. Yes, there's Rocket, but man, that's going to be a huge factor potentially.
Yeah, this Flying Machine can be a problem, and right away, we recognize, you said it, the only way to deal with the Flying Machine cleanly is with the Lightning, and the easiest thing you can do, you have 2 picks. You can pick the counter and the card that you want, the card that can be a problem. I like what Faust is doing, but he also has options, because he can go beat down with Electro Giant, or he can go more control with this Miner. I know it's a little clunky, and then Vitor picking the Golden Knight to combo with this Tornado. I like that both these players are patient, but I like what Faust is doing. He's patient, but he also seems to have a plan.
Vitor just has to be figuring out what to do about that Flying Machine right now. And he knows also, hey, another card that doesn't have a great answer is the Mother Witch. Now, of course, Lightning can get multiple cards, so Vitor is going to have to make some choices to make sure that he's not giving too much lightning value and doesn't have to stack up in one lane too much. That will be an important question. And man, it feels like Vitor's being pigeonholed into picking a Rocket right now.
Yeah, I don't know what else you can do, because look, if you're thinking about what win condition he picks, you want to be able to support that win condition with a big spell. You can't go graveyard because you don't have a sufficient big spell to support. You don't have the fireball, you don't have the poison, you don't even have arrows. And Faust, he's kind of covering his bases. I love that mortar pick because it gives him an offensive option, but it also covers his base against this Electro Giant, because if your opponent picks Electro Giant, well, the mortar's great against it, but there's no, like we said, there's no big spell. You can't take the mortar off cleanly. The Barb Barrel is okay. I just don't know what Vitor does here.
Vitor might go Sparky. There is a Sparky line here available. The Golden Knight's kind of funky with that, but it's certainly a possibility. And now he goes Goblins for Cycle.
Yeah, the win conditions are weak. I love the Miner. I don't know which player is going to pick the Miner, but other than that, there's a Skeleton Barrel, and then you have the Graveyard and the Royal Giant, two very strong win conditions, but not a lot of the supporting cards that make them that strong. And there's no Drill, there's no Goblin Barrel, there's not even Wall Breakers, and Faust is just, he's setting himself up for success, where I think Vitor is kind of panicking. He's just picking cards that are good. Goblins, they're good. The Barb Barrel, it's good. And this is going to be a crucial pick for Vitor. These next two picks, or wait, no, he'll only pick once, and there it is. The Miner finally comes off the board, and Faust, he might have won this draft before the game even started.
He might go Loon here too, Faust. He has a good Loon deck potentially building as well. We'll see. I mean, he can probably control this without too much difficulty. And notice also the way that Faust is picked, he hasn't picked a lot of stuff that gives good combos to the Golden Knight. So you see that NATO Golden Knight combination. Well, you love to get that on tower, but with what Faust has gotten so far, how do you even do that? If he goes Loon here, or even potentially Skelly Barrel, but really Loon, he's going to leave Vitor with very few ways to actually get on tower.
Yeah, as long as Faust plays the way he played yesterday, he should be in a great situation in this matchup, because this Electro Giant, it looks good, but it's missing one thing. And Rich, that card is the Lightning. Faust has the Lightning. So what do? I love that Faust is going to the skies, because Vitor only has Mother Witch. Not a lot of DPS on that side. Yes, he has the Tornado, but he also doesn't have a building. How do you deal with this balloon? And also, what card? You have to pick Hunter, I guess? It's got to be Hunter.
Yeah, it's going to have to be... No,
or so Graveyard.
He's going Graveyard because, look, there's actually not really any good answers for Graveyard that Faust has. And so now he's forcing Faust to make a pick to defend Graveyard, which is smart because it will also force him to pick something that will give more combination options to Vitor. So Hunter's not a perfect Graveyard defender. It's an okay one. It's a B tier Graveyard defender. You play it on that front inside corner, and it can do a pretty decent job. But yeah, there's not great Graveyard answers on Faust's side.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we see this game wait the entire 2 minutes until we see the first card played, because both these cards, never mind. Okay, well, I gotta stop saying words, because every time we say words as caster, it always seems to do the opposite. Are they listening? Do they hear us? This is going to be a game where towers are going to fall. Both of these decks have great offensive potential, and their opponent doesn't have the best defense to the offense the other player has, but that goes both ways. So if you can't defend, you got to attack, and I think both players are going to kind of commit to that strategy.
The big thing for Faust is that with Vitor having no big spell, Faust can defend the Graveyard in unorthodox ways. The question will be, how does he defend the Graveyard and the Electro Giant at the same time? But it's going to leave him for some pretty big counter pushes, and it's just going to take one balloon to get put behind all that with no real answer for Vitor to the balloon, and this will be all over.
Yeah, I love what you said about the Graveyard. That's a great point, because yes, you can play the Graveyard. Yes, you don't have the best counters, but you can play just a bunch of cards, and that's going to be more than sufficient. And those cards are not only going to survive, but they're going to be cards that you have to deal with then on Vitor's side. That's going to be a big push, and with no big spell, no great way to deal with it, and already a balloon on the right side. Oh, this is... I don't know what Vitor has to do to win this, but let's see. We have the Electro Giant coming in. The mortar is down. Faust going with the Giant Skeleton up high. Seems like he's in an okay spot. Fire Spirit for the Goblins, and that's just going to be a very clean defense from Faust.
Yeah, Vitor's a little happy he doesn't have to deal with that Giant Skeleton quite yet. He's going to get the Giant Skeleton pulled back and taken down a bit. I really think that Vitor not picking a building here, Tesla was on the board. It's not common right now. But picking something to control that Loon, I feel like that was an oversight, because he has the NATO for the Miner. The Mother Witch, though, as we just saw, she can't solo a balloon. So he really has to use the NATO and the Mother Witch to control this balloon. It's just not going to work out very well for him.
Yeah, and this Mother Witch, even if we're looking on defense, it's not going to be great having to overcommit, use the Tornado as well, but also not going to get a ton of value. We always look at Mother Witch as one of those cards that can be a game changer. One good Mother Witch can win you the game, but what cards is the Mother Witch going to turn into pigs? It's just single units. There's no swarms, there's no goblins, there's no skeletons, there's no value for this Mother Witch. So right now, Vitor, I don't know how he's going to be able to deal damage, but I don't know how he's going to defend, especially now that we're deeper into double elixir. How do you defend this balloon? How do you defend this flying machine? I think the answer is you just don't.
You don't. And this should be a fairly easy win in game number 1 for Faust. And so far, it's been all him. Now there's a little bit of push the opposite direction, but the big thing, as long as Faust doesn't ever overcommit and leave himself stranded, he'll be absolutely fine. Now, you do see him pushing pretty aggressively here, and maybe he's just looking at this going, you can't stop this push. He's going to have Lightning available if the Mother Witch even does come down, and that's GG. Very nice, brilliantly picked by Faust. Okay, so the NATO to activate King Tower. He's going to survive. Vitor will survive for one more cycle, but Faust is just in a great spot.
And now we're just seeing desperation on the left side. Vitor's just going for this crazy push. He's going for this Graveyard Dark Prince push on the left side because what's been working right now for Vitor has not been working. The game has not been going in his favor, but he was able to cleanly defend this. He has the elixir lead. He has the unit lead at least, and these balloons in the middle. Yes, you can use the tornado, but you still have to deal with this miner. You still have to deal with these mortars. Mortar on defense here. Faust is playing with his meal right now. He's playing with his food. He knows he can win, especially with this giant skeleton on the left side. Is that enough to win this game? How much damage does a giant skeleton do these days?
No, not quite. That's going to get it down to under 1,000, but
wow,
not quite here. You see the miner get on tower, and now you see Faust is going to take his foot off the gas a little bit. Just try to not make any big defensive mistakes and go for miner cycle from this point forward. He's getting some pressure on the left-hand side, and I was telling you, the one thing that is dangerous for Faust is if he gets over-aggressive and overspends, and right now that's what's happening. This Graveyard is all over the tower. Fire Spirit to control here, but Faust is letting his opponent open the door a little bit and try to squeeze a foot through. He needs to make no mistakes here. Lightning in, and that's it. GG, well played.
That game got way closer than I expected, but I kind of like what Vitor did. He kind of made it dirty boxing. He was not playing a normal Electro Giant deck. He wasn't playing it like traditionally how Faust would play versus an Electro Giant deck. Kind of got him out of his comfort zone, kind of pivoted, went to more of the Graveyard route, and we saw the game get close, but it seemed like you were right. Faust he won the deck draft and he was comfortable. He had the game in the bag and he was just playing patient, waiting for his opportunity to strike, and strike he did, and that was a big blow.
And look, Vitor made it very, very close. Instead of opting to go for stronger defense against the Loons, he decided to opt for trying to win the big slugfest. And he nearly pulled it off. There was just nothing he could do to stop any of these balloons in a meaningful way. And you saw, I mean, the Faust saw that and overextended a little bit, and that's what made it so close. Either way, really brilliant draft by Faust. Great recognition that the balloon was going to be an absolute problem for Vitor to deal with, and he takes game number 1. And now you have to go into that second draft and see if Vitor can maybe think a little bit further down the road this time. It's really hard to make that full evaluation, all those decisions in the first couple of moments, those first few seconds before you get that first pick going. And maybe this time around, he'll get a bigger picture of the field.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly right. That's what Vitor has to do to win this game, because if we look at what Faust did, he immediately went in swinging. He was making a deck, and he had a purpose. He had a purpose behind the deck. There was reasons for his pick. Where we saw Vitor, I think his picks were a little bit safer. They were just good picks. Okay, the Tornado, it's a great card. Let's go with it. What pairs well with the Tornado? Golden Knight. Golden Knight, okay, let's go with Goblins, Barb Barrel. It was safe picks where you have to look at the board like we did. You have to talk with your team. You have a team for a reason. Utilize your team. Figure out a strategy right away. You do have time, and I just want to see a little bit more of that on Vitor's side, because if not, this match might be over before it even starts.
Yeah, that was an interesting pick here, right? Going NATO Golden Knight early, picking your champion very early in that one, picking the least powerful of the 3 champions on the board just for that NATO Golden Knight synergy. Kind of an interesting call overall. Let's take a look at our board here. So this time, very different situation. Log, Barb Barrel, Arrows, Poison, Zap, and Rage, the spells. This time we have, wow, Skeleton King, Archer Queen, and Golden Knight, and Vitor opting for the strongest spell on the board, Poison, a very, very safe pick from Vitor to open up.
How crazy am I here, Rich? Well, I'm looking at that Phoenix. I always love the bird, love to have him on my team, but that's the only big spell, Poison. Could Vitor go the spawner route? Can he go with the Furnace? Can he go with the Hut? Can he go with this more controlling archetype, especially if he picks the Magic Archer next? That is an opportunity I think Vitor has, and I just want to see if he commits to it. I don't want to see him play safe.
That would be absolutely filthy. I do like the Magic Archer pick he'll be forcing Faust to play double spell to get it off the board, so Magic Archer would be a nice pick here. Of course, picking it early also kind of tips your hat, and now that Faust has already picked the Archer Queen, it's less valuable as a pick for Faust. So he might leave the Magic Archer on the board a little bit longer just to obfuscate that direction. And here goes with two really solid picks. There is no good way to deal with the Barbs as far as spells go, and even from a splash damage perspective, nothing great for them either. And then, of course, the Bomb Tower is going to take down a lot of the options that Faust has for picking lines.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what Vitor's planning here, because it's weird that he went the Barb route. That immediately makes me think that he's going maybe with the Royal Hogs, looking at this Heal Spirit, going with a little bit of, well, there's no Fireball, so let's just go Fireball bait. It's a simple strategy, but sometimes the simplest strategies just work.
Well, Barbs are nice here because you see that he took the only spell that can do anything about them. So there are certain cards in Mega Draft that get a huge buff once one or two things happen, and we just saw that happen with the Barbs. So I like the picking line he's going on. He has Splash covered tremendously, and now that's exactly what I was talking about, getting the Magic Archer, kind of reading that Faust wasn't going to pick the Magic Archer because he already had the Archer Queen, and Vitor picking the Magic Archer later in the draft. Very smart play.
Yeah, Faust is in an awful situation because I don't know what he does. He could go with Drill, but hey, Vitor, he has the Skeleton King, he has the Magic Archer, he has the Barbs, and he has options even to fully counter these drills. Does he go Royal Hogs? Well, there's a Bomb Tower. Okay, well, then what do you do? Do you go Golem? Well, there's Barbs. Do you go Hog Rider? No, because there's Barbs and a Bomb Tower. I don't know what the answer is, and I don't know if Faust knows either, because he's doing what Vitor did last game. He's playing it safe. He's picking good cards. He's going to make a good deck. But the problem is Vitor's making the counter to that good deck. And I love what Vitor's doing right now. And I'm excited to see these last couple of cards.
Yeah, this is a really fascinating round of pick. Drill's kind of out for both of them. They each have a brilliant drill counter in their hand. So that kind of makes it off the board. And we're talking about win conditions. RG, Golem, Ram Rider, Wall Breakers, Hog, and Royal Hogs. Because you can't go Elixir Golem. That's a physical impossibility here.
Are you saying we're not going to see Elixir Golem today? Come on.
Yeah, there's literally no way that the only way that either one of these two chooses it is if their finger slips. So I think we're not going to see that. Let's go ahead and see what Faust goes for his pick here. Goes Hog Rider, and you know what? Of all the options he has, it has the best synergy for the least cost. So I like that pick as the best option for Faust here.
Yeah, I don't hate the Rage spell here for Faust. He has to start thinking about defense, because we know the last card's probably going to be Royal Hogs. Royal Hogs, easy.
Yep, great pick.
And how do you defend the Royal Hogs? Yes, you have the Valkyrie, but the Royal Hogs still deal damage. You don't have a building. And what building do you pick? Do you pick Inferno Tower? That sucks against the Royal Hogs. Do you pick Furnace? It's okay. I don't really know what the best strategy here for him is. Does he just focus on offense and tries to figure out? No, he just goes with the Inferno Tower. Probably the safe play, but also it's not great.
Inferno Tower is okay. The extra HP does make it a little bit. It's not like Bomb Tower against Royal Hogs, but the extra HP definitely does make it more viable. It can hold the Royal Hogs there for a long time, especially if you have other troops out there to help chip them down. So, of the three options, I think Furnace was never an option with Poison out there. Neither of the spawners were an option with Vitor holding Poison. That was the only choice he had.
Yeah, Faust was just put in a corner, and I just don't know how Faust is going to get these Hog Riders on tower, because Clash Royale, it's a very simple game when you look at it. You got to deal damage. The player that deals the most damage to your opponent's tower, their Princess Tower, will win the game. And if we're looking at Vitor, he has ways to deal damage. He has the Skeleton King, he has the Magic Archer, he has these Royal Hogs, he has the Poison. Or if we're looking at Faust, these Hog Riders, how do you get it through? How are you going to get through the Bomb Tower and these Barbarians? Because these Barbarians are going to get maximum value every single time they're played. And Vitor, as long as he doesn't make a mistake, he should be in a great situation. And right now we're seeing them. Barbs come down. Hog Rider does get a shot. Oh, that's... maybe a little bit of a misplay on the Barbs, because if you play the Barbs correctly, that Hog Rider should never get a shot.
Yeah, they might have been a half step late there, and so instead of body blocking, they gave him a little room to... They kind of surrounded So nice early spot. Look, the one thing about Faust here is that I need to do some quick math, but I believe that Faust has a slightly faster cycle, slightly lower average cost for his deck. The skeletons in there for Vitor to kind of make up for that problem. He saw that happening as he got later into the matchup. So, you know, Faust does certainly have some options, especially if he can do damage here in single, but only 22 seconds left in that period.
Yeah, and there are always ways that you can win, especially this Archer Queen. If you make a mistake, if you catch your opponent without Elixir and you can go Archer Queen at the bridge, and okay, that was better. I think those were better barbs, right? Yes, Hog Rider does not get on tower. And this is where Vitor, he can be very creative with his attacks. Right now, we're seeing barbs on the right side, hogs on the left side, but you can double down. You can play them in the same lane. Maybe you give a little bit too much spell value, but if your opponent doesn't have the spells in hand to use it on your Magic Archer, there is an opportunity where you can double down. I mean, maybe he doesn't even need to, because look how much damage is already on that left side tower.
Yeah, I mean, the poison is such a massive factor in this matchup between these two, and we're already seeing that happening. 1866 on that left-hand tower. Bird does force out a little elixir from Vitor. That's good news overall for Faust as he's trying to battle his way back in.
Yeah, and it's just options, 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 options. Vitor can just have fun with this game. He has a lot of ways to attack. I love this Magic Archer getting one piercing shot on that tower. Is going to get taken out by this Archer Queen, poison on defense. And it's clean. It's just clean Clash Royale. Clean, comfortable Clash Royale. And if you're thinking of Clash Royale, it's the best Clash Royale to play. It's just fun.
Yeah, and this is just rough, getting the Hog Rider past the bomb tower. So now you're going to see Faust try to see if he can outcycle the bomb tower. Of course, then he'll run right into a set of barbs. We might see Faust try to go hog with log now that he's defending the royal hogs with his Inferno Tower.
Yeah,
log being used.
Yeah, that's his
Magic Archer.
Yeah, like you can't, like, the problem is you just can't deal with everything. You can't deal with the piggies cleanly. You can't deal with the barbs cleanly. You can't really deal with the bomb tower cleanly. You can't deal with the Magic Archer cleanly. It's uncomfortable Clash Royale for Faust and very comfortable Clash Royale for Vitor. And I like that he kind of went a little bit aggressive with his strategy. He went for, okay, I'm going to go with the spell. I'm going to pick all these cards that counter your deck, and I'm just going to play Clash Royale. We know Vitor's talented. We've seen him make mistakes in the past, and as long as he doesn't make a big mistake here, he should be okay with 1 minute and 14 seconds left.
Interesting play here, and again, just trying to suck stuff out. We'll see if Faust goes back to the right-hand lane one more time, and he does with the Magic Archer, or with the Archer Queen. Piggies to the left-hand lane, Magic Archer in the middle, and that's just also tough because he knows he has to give up some damage on that Inferno Tower every single time. Magic Archer will be taken down by this Phoenix, though, and now we're getting an opportunity for Faust to try to open stuff up on the right-hand lane.
And this is it. Hog Rider comes down. He needs to deal damage. We've said he hasn't been able to deal damage. This has to be the moment. He has to get something. And the second Hog could get kind of scary. No bomb tower back in cycle. And still has the Barbarians as well. And more than enough elixir for them. So very, very comfortable. Goes with the Barb Barrel. Valkyrie does not get on tower on the right side. It was close. And the Royal Hogs on this left side. This should be more or less GG's. Well played.
A little, not too much damage here. The Magic Archer does get the lineup for one big-time shot, and now you're going to see Faust go Queen in front of a Hog Rider, I believe. Log to try to swing, trying to break open an opportunity, but of course Bomb Tower will be more than ready to pick up.
Yeah,
and wow.
It's over. I said it earlier, the way to winning Clash Royale is you have to deal damage. We saw even yesterday a couple of players went a little bit too defensive, a little bit too safe, but if you cannot figure out a way to deal damage, if you do not have a win condition that can deal consistent damage, spells that can deal consistent damage, you will just lose the game. And we saw it there. How much damage did he end up doing? 1,000 damage on that right side tower, and that was with one hog shot and then just spells. Just spells. There was no significant damage he was able to do. And I don't know. What are you thinking for this next game? It's weird because it feels like the whole game kind of turned. It felt very good for Faust in the first game and then very bad for Vitor in the second game.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Each one had a really, really good draft. And, you know, part of it is that we've seen two players kind of draft themselves into a corner where the other person just really took advantage. And look, the limitation of spells, we're seeing what that means for these matchups, right? When you don't have, when it's only one really effective big spell out there, how much that can impact things, and it really requires an extra level of creativity. It might have been the move for Faust in that situation to really just double down defensively and try to find some way to win the spell race, but then you're trying to do, you have log arrows versus poison. Are you going to win that fight in the end? I'm not entirely sure. So a difficult one. Let's go ahead and jump into our third and final game of this set and see if someone can figure out the magic here. Oh, EQ, Lightning, Snowball, Log, Rage, Barb Barrel.
Why not pick Lightning there? Why not pick Lightning? We saw this in game number
on the board too, because you have EQ on the board. Yeah.
I don't know. I saw. Maybe you're right. Yeah, maybe you're right. I don't know. I just saw in the first game Lightning. There was only one big spell. Actually, I guess there was technically Rocket, but Lightning. We saw Faust pick it, and no, you know what? No, they're going simple. They're going with the small spells. There's a lot of small spells available, so I'm surprised they're going so early on picking these small spells. But if we're looking at some of these other cards, are there any cards that jump out to you?
Well, I think they were both trying to hedge against the potential of someone taking both the small spells and then going Goblin Barrel, which is a really annoying thing to do in this game mode. I've seen people do it before. You know, this is weird because we're seeing no Royal Hogs, we're seeing no Hog Rider, no Ram Rider, no Royal Giant. If you look at the win condition situation here, it's either we have a few Giants, we have some bait cards, we have Loon and Skelly Barrel, and then we have Lava Hound. And I'm really curious to see if anyone can direct themselves toward an effective Lava Hound deck. I'm not sure they can.
Yeah, because I guess you could go Lava Hound if you're Faust, but already his deck doesn't really... there are some counters to the Lava Hound as well, because if you do go Lava Hound, then Vitor could just go Inferno Tower, they could go Skeleton Dragons, they could go Minions, they could go Hunter, so maybe Lava Hound isn't the right option, but then what is? You've already brought it up. It's just bait, Lava Loon, or a big, thick tank like the Giant or the Goblin Giant. So wouldn't be surprised if we just see bait on both players. Someone goes with more of a cycle deck, goes with the Goblin Barrel, maybe someone else goes with the Skeleton Barrel and the Wall Breakers. I think maybe that's the route we're going to see. There also maybe some bridge spam as well with this Mega Knight, with this Prince, with this Bandit.
Well, you see Faust doing a good job of getting the only Spirit on the board, and there's not much in the way of cycle cards left here, right? So if you see Vitor trying to build towards what looks like a bait deck, well, here's a significant problem. It's going to be hard for him to cycle around to those Goblin Barrels with any sort of relative quickness. So it does look like Faust has done a good job of hedging against that. Man, this is one of the hardest boards that I have seen.
I don't know what the right pick is. I think Vitor is already going in the direction of bridge spam bait. So going to lock in maybe a Bandit, lock in the Goblin Barrel. He could go with a Rage or a Snowball as well to finish it off, and I don't mind that deck. But Faust, maybe going Mega Knight Wall Breakers, but not having the Miner, that seems kind of weird. I don't know what Faust is doing right now. I don't know what Faust's game plan is, because it looks like like an Electro Giant deck. But Rich, there's no Electro Giant.
Yeah, and I don't totally love the light. I understand why he's picking Lightning here, but with Rascals and Dark Goblin and Skeleton and Skelly Drags, that's kind of a funky pick. And now you see Vitor, going for another card that Lightning doesn't do a whole lot against.
Yeah, and Faust it's got him to a pickle with him where he's got to make a decision and he does not have a lot of time. Snowball comes out. We see the bridge spam card from Vitor. So Vitor, he has a strategy. He's recognized this is a great opportunity for him to use this strategy, use this deck, make this deck, put Faust in an awkward situation. And now Faust, he has 3 seconds. He's got to pick a card, and it's got to be a good one. And he's going Mega Knight. So it is going to be more Mega Knight Wall Breakers or just Mega Knight just bridge spam? Is he just using the Mega Knight as like an Electro Giant, as a big tank, and hopefully just going to break through this push of Vitor? But look at Vitor. He has so many counters to this Mega Knight. Prince, Rascals, Mighty Miner, Faust. I don't know what he does here.
Yeah, he might pick just one more defensive card and go for Overwhelm plays. Yep.
Oh.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
He had no good win condition pick. Any win condition was going to be free elixir, the opposite direction it feels. So Faust opting for, let me find more ways to defend. And Vitor playing the is your Barb Barrel in hand game. The answer is yes.
It's my favorite game. That's one of my favorite games. A crowd favorite is Bar Barrel at hand. So already, you know what? A little bit of fortune going for Faust, because like starting out of the gate, if you didn't have that Bar Barrel, you could have already started to lose momentum, and we could have saw this game get really bad really quickly. Faust does have ways to win. There are ways he could win, and this Golden Knight might be one of those ways. Dashing on this tower, doesn't get the dash. Prince is going to be more than enough to take it out. These minions, are they going to play that much of a problem? Probably not. With these skeleton dragons, take them out. What does Faust do here?
He tries to control stuff and keep it off the tower as much as possible, and then at some point get a counter Mega Knight and build a giant push behind it and play like it's 5,000 trophies.
I like it. I like it. Go back to the roots. It's simple. All he has to do is win. How hard is that? He's won. We've seen him win before. He should be able to do that. It's just going to be a very long game. And I think Faust is just going to have to wait for an opportunity where Vitor makes a mistake. We've seen him make mistakes in the past, but at least today in this tournament and yesterday, actually, we didn't even see Vitor play yesterday.
We did not. Vitor's opponent was on an airplane, apparently. Nice little snowball there to clean things up. The biggest thing for Vitor is not give lightning value. Not give lightning value. If you can avoid giving lightning value, avoid giving Mega Knight value, this should be pretty doable for Vitor. Those are the two keys for him, it seems like, going forward with 18 seconds left in single elixir.
Yeah, and it's been very defensive, like you said. We definitely saw that strategy go with that last pick of the skeleton or the spear goblins. We saw that strategy in full effect. He's like, hey, we're going to play defense. Everybody says defense wins championships, and this is going to be huge because this is a do or die moment right now. If Faust loses, Vitor and Surge, they're going to the finals.
Absolutely. Now you see Faust setting up Mega Knight way in the back here, but here's the big problem with that Mega Knight. You have the Mighty Miner, and your only reset capability is that Ice Spirit. So this Mega Knight is going to be just drill fodder. And now the 3-card cycle can get involved for Vitor, and he can try to out-cycle the Barb Barrel, and this is starting to get really nasty for Faust.
Yeah, but at least he had the Golden Knight to be able to clean up stuff. Whoa. Prince on the left side and Skeleton Dragons. They're going to be able to take out the minions. That was a huge play from Faust, and that's GG's already. What just happened?
Well, we'll take a look at that in the replay, but long story boring. Vitor stretched him thin, and Faust Mega Knight just gave a ton of extra elixir to the Mighty Miner, and a rough draft gives Vitor the 2-1 win, and his team the 2-0 sweep. GG, well played. Vitor and Surgical Goblin going to our grand finals.
Rich, I said it. He's back. Actually, I gotta give him a little bit more. I'm gonna say they're back. I guess Vitor never left, but Vitor played amazing. Maybe not great in that first game. Maybe played it a little bit safe in that first game, but immediately capitalized on the advantage of drafting. He took his knowledge of Clash Royale. He was able to outdraft his opponent, and set him up for success in the game. And that's exactly what he did. Look on this left side tower. What left side tower? That left side tower is gone, Rich.
Yeah, those spear goblins just disappeared, and the Prince ran right on by, got on tower, Skelly drags behind, and that's all she wrote. So Vitor, a little bit of a rough outing for the draft portion in the first game, but really dialed in game 2 and game 3 and put together a beautiful performance. And you back that up with the very nice gameplay of Surgical Goblin in our first set, and we have a quite formidable squad making their way to our grand finals. Let's take a look at the bracket to see the journey they've taken so far. The first round win against Aslan and Omer, and then now making short work. So far, the least amount of games played of anybody for Surgical Goblin and Vitor as they get through Doom and Faust, and they will now await the victors of our second semifinal coming up very soon. Man, that was just a brilliant performance by these two. And yes, the next semifinal is going to be Titan and Inthril going up against Bob, The Rock, and Sosa. And we're going to have that here for you in just a couple of minutes. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with our second semifinal.
The Snapdragon Pro Series powered by Samsung Galaxy is brought to you by Snapdragon Elite Gaming, Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra, Monster Energy, and DHL.
Welcome to the place where dreams come true. Where everything you want can be yours. If and only if you're willing to work for them. You're willing to hurt for them. But most of all...
And welcome back to the Snapdragon Pro Series Season 3 Final. Our first semifinal in the book, Surgical Goblin and Vitor taking it by storm. And now we move on to our second semifinal of the day between Titan and Inthrill up against Bob the Rock and Sosa. This should be a great one. Both of these teams put together brilliant performances yesterday. And, you know, it's I think I kind of have an idea of where some of the picking might go when we get into our predictions here in just a moment. But, you know, Minnie, I want to come over to you. Both these teams looked to be perfectly in sync yesterday.
Yeah, lots of them showing us some extremely solid Clash Royale. We were only able to see one 2v2 set, which was unfortunate from these two, but I'm hoping that we get a third set today so we can really see who can pull out the best decks, the better communication. Let's go ahead and take a look at the lineups to see which players are going to be playing the duels and the mega drafts respectively.
So Titan coming out in duels for the Polish duo in our first set, and Inthrill, the guy going for this squad in the mega draft portion. Let's go take a look at the other squad and see if they maintained their same order from yesterday or switched things up. And they did maintain the order. Bob the Rock was phenomenal in duels yesterday. And of course, Sosa's mega draft was on point. Cashman, you're currently the leader in our overall picks for our predictions. So, you know what, with you being the leader, let's put you in that lead position. When we go into this matchup, are you picking the Polish duo or are you going with LeBron James?
Well, I'm not a huge fan of LeBron James. I'm not a big LeBron James supporter, but I can't argue about greatness. They played phenomenally yesterday. There were no issues. They didn't even lose a game. How do you not bet on LeBron James here? If you do not bet on LeBron James, I think that's a miss free throw. Is that a bad pun?
Well, we know all the basketball puns coming from Minnie here in just a couple of minutes. And Minnie, I'm going to go ahead and guess here that you are also joining Cashman on the LeBron James pick.
Maybe they're gonna struggle a little bit. So honestly, they're gonna slam dunk all over the place. Bring out the brooms. It's time for the king to take the court. LeBron James all the way. Been a fan from day one. They're going all the way today, baby.
Well, I'm going to break up the party here and try to catch up to Cashman if I can. I'm going to go ahead and pick Inthrill and Titan to this one. Both of them are having phenomenal 2023s, really taking a step up in their overall gameplay, and they looked great yesterday. So two different casters going for LeBron James for the Bob the Rock Sosa matchup, and one that's just me going for Inthrill and Titan. We'll see how this one shakes out. You know, Minnie, you talked about it yesterday. Bob and Sosa were just absolutely dominant. Do you see them having any, you mentioned they might have some trouble. Where might those trouble points arise in this second semifinal?
Obviously, Sosa, really solid player, currently number 3 on CRO leaderboards. We expect greatness from him. Bob the Rock, we'll see, not always the best with duels, but regardless, let's go ahead and take a look. We have our first game ready in our second semifinals as we say goodbye to Rich. Titan and Bob the Rock. Cashman, it's time.
Oh, it is time. It is time. And seeing the minions come out right away from Titan, does that mean he's going to the skies with a little bit of Lava Hound, or maybe going some Mortar Balloon Miner? Oh.
Looking like it is lava. There is a new miner mortar with minions, but it's looking like it's going to be the heavier side with the skeleton army. Maybe he will be taken into the skies, as he said, and if that is the case, it's going to be somewhat problematic for Bob the Rock, as it looks like he is going with that RG game 1. However, looks like we are on point. Mortar Miner going to be coming out from Titan with that Evo Mortar, going to be looking to punish Bob the Rock as we get to the later stages of this game.
Yeah, this matchup, we already know what Bob the Rock's deck is. The last two cards, one's going to be the Royal Giant and one's most likely going to be a small spell. So looking at this matchup, break it down for me. Is there a little bit of a matchup advantage? Because I thought Royal Giant would be in a good situation, but that Mortar is already on tower, getting 2 shots on tower, Miner's on tower, and this Phoenix, you don't even have to deal with it on the right side.
Yeah, this is going to be tricky for Bob to get past. He's always going to have to be worrying about something to waste his spell with. Plus, the additional pressure of this mortar going to be super hard to contain, as we already see here. 2 mortar shots coming in the first minute and a half of the game. But what Bob the Rock needs to do is look to build those RGs in the back as we head into double elixir, and really try to align the Phoenix and the Spirit for the minions, trying to get the Barbarian ready for the Skeleton Army. And even then, he's got to worry about the ability from the Skeleton. So no easy task whatsoever from Bob the Rock, but a good lightning to set the tempo as we get into double elixir.
Yeah, that was a very clean defense from Bob the Rock. I always see mortar and I think, oh, let's play Royal Giant because Royal Giant's good against the mortar. But no, he waits. He was patient. He saw the Musketeer come down and then immediately changed and his trajectory going with the lightning. Yeah, I like what Bob the Rock's doing. We saw him dominate yesterday, but we saw him play very confidently. He played with a purpose. He saw the opportunities, he recognized them, and he capitalized on those opportunities. So if Titan makes a mistake, and here it is, the first Royal Giant's coming down, the minions are going to be taken out from this Phoenix. Great snowball, though, to push the Phoenix away, just so these minions can deal a little bit more DPS to the Royal Giant, but it still gets on tower.
Yeah, Bob did a great job there of taking advantage of the troops he had on the board. This Royal Giant's going to do a great job against this Evo Mortar to really neutralize, and he's going to be able to get a counter push on this as well. But if you notice in that specific attack from Bob, he had the Phoenix and the Spirit for the minions. He had a Ghost going into the Skeleton Army. He's not going to even need to waste the Barbell here, does decide to do so. And what's really going to drag against Titan this entire game is the lack of a pushback, because the Snowball, while it may push back every other troop in the deck, there's nothing to push back or reset that Royal Giant. So there's one minor slip up that Royal Giant gets the tower. It's going to be a couple of shots and a very perilous situation for Titan.
Yeah, and we know what happens when we get into triple elixir. There's going to be more Royal Giants. Great lightning value. Mortar does come down, but it comes down high, and I like that because it could put on a little bit of offensive potential. It doesn't even get a shot off, though. It doesn't even hit the skeletons that were played to distract it. And there it is. There's no counter push. There's nothing. So this miner is going to come in, but it is going to get grabbed by the fisherman. No, a late Skeleton King ability popped, and that is not an insignificant amount of damage. Miner dealing damage, poison dealing damage, but the poison also taking out the defensive units of Bob the Rock, and now he just has to reset. He goes with the Royal Giant at the back, and Titan, does he set up a defensive mortar here? The lightning has been super valuable. I think Titan's got to pivot his placement with these Musketeers. You got to stop giving these lightning value.
Yeah, this Skeleton King ability, however, is going to be very perilous. But Bob, great recognition, like you said, Cashman, with that lightning. Ooh. Great job of taking it off the board before he was able to get his push oriented. Great King Terror activation there due to the Skeleton King ability. Now he's got a Royal Giant, not going to be the Evo form, but he's got to continue putting this pressure, and he's really going to be looking to get damage with these lightnings as he keeps the miner on the tower with Great Fisherman.
I don't know if I want Bob the Rock to just focus on these spell cycles. Yes, they've been dealing damage, but you still got to put on the pressure, because if you take the foot off the gas, Titan has been dealing damage. Even with this King Tower being activated, never mind. Royal Giant's coming in, Lightning comes in as well. That tower, the mortar is done. There's no defense, like you said. If the Royal Giant gets on tower, there's no way to stop it. It got on tower, and there was no way to stop it. Very clean game from Bob the Rock in game number 1.
Bob the Rock, rock solid in game 1, playing that Royal Giant deck to a T against this mortar control from Titan. Got to keep in mind, no miner, no poison in store for Titan, and Bob the Rock already got that RG that we know he loves out of the way. So will he go to the skies? Looks like he may go the recruits or the Evo Barbs version, which is updated in this meta. And Titan, looking to go with Royal Giant himself, says, hey, you can play Royal Giant, I can play it too. Looks like Bob the Rock will be rocking those piggies with the Barbarians instead of the recruits, Cashman.
Minnie, I'm disappointed in you. I'm very, very disappointed in you. I can't believe you didn't have any puns. Where are the puns? I thought we were going to get some slam dunks and some puns, but no, this is no joke. Okay, this right side is looking not as bad as I thought. The Royal Giant should only get 1 shot on tower, or maybe even 2. Uh-oh. Pigs on the left side, so not supporting this flying machine at all. And looking at this matchup, I like Titan's situation, but whenever I see the Barbarians, especially the Evo Barbs that can take the fireball, I don't know, it seems like Bob the Rock has a lot of options, but Titan also has a lot of responses to those options. And what do you think this matchup's going to come down to?
Yeah, on paper, this is a very decent matchup for Bob. He's got a lot of adequate cards. He's got 3 different four if you're counting the piggies. He's got a lot of fireball bait cards, and these barbarians and these zappies are all going to be menacing on the defensive end. However, there are instances where Titan can really pull away if Bob overcommits with some piggies and Titan defends with some troops, and then can counter push with a Royal Giant based off of that. But as we approach double elixir, we're just seeing these players kind of wait it out. A little bit of aggressiveness from Titan, trying to make some room, but to no avail as we approach double.
Yeah, that was a very, very clean defense. I always love the heal spirit. I know we don't see it a lot, but the heal spirits, it's one of those cards, it's a game changer. And I love seeing them. A good, has to use the arrows on that Phoenix. Not great. And we're seeing a 3 elixir lead for Titan. But it's not about having an elixir lead. It's about what you do with the elixir lead. And he decides, let's go Royal Giant at the back. He has the fireball for these piggies. Does he? Did he use the fireball? No, he used it on the Zappy. So has to use the skeletons, the bar barrel, and the fisherman. Not a super clean defense. And that left side tower, just like that, already in the lead is Bob the Rock.
Yep, chance for some dual lane pressure here. Evo RG comes down on the right hand side. Fisherman going to be pulled to the middle. Fireball going to come down on these Evo barbs in an instant.
Oh, no.
Evo RG going to knock back and take care of those. Keep the brawler off as well. Zappy on the right hand side taking that RG down. Tower down to 1469, going all in on the left hand lane. No fireball in store used on the barbs. It's going to be a decent defense for Titan though, as he gets a Phoenix on the counter push. Cashman, we have a game.
Yeah, and I think you're right. You called it right at the beginning of this match about the fireball. Yes, he has the fireball for the barbs, the royal hogs, the flying machine, the zappies. But the problem is he only has 1 fireball. Bob has 4 targets that you have to use that fireball on. So we see if you use that offensive fireball, sure, you might get a little extra damage, but you're also going to take damage in return. And I don't know what Titan can do to try to... I don't know. I don't know if you kind of... Because you have to use the fireball on offense, right, Minnie? So what do you do in this situation if you're a Titan?
He really just has to pick his poison. There's going to be times where he can get away with some cheap fireballs onto the tower and the flying machine and defend with some troops. And at one point... Ooh, oh no, that is not a good defense. That's got to be a misclick from Titan, and that's going to be super dangerous because it just feeds those evil barbs into that RG and gives him more of an opportunity for Bob the Rock to stack. And I think the pressure of LeBron James is just really getting to this Polish team, Cash.
Yeah, that was a huge mistake. We see like misclicks with placement, but that was not only a misclick with placement, that was a misclick with the entire unit. You said it. He played the Royal Giant and it went right into the barbs that were already played. He just gave his opponent 6 elixir and also doesn't have the Evo Royal Giant in the arena. He doesn't have it in his cycle anymore. And this game, I don't know what Titan can do. And I think just making that one mistake, you cannot make those mistakes in this level of competition. These players are too skilled. They're going to recognize that mistake. We're talking a game of inches, and these barbs on the right side should be more than enough for this Royal Giant, but actually relatively healthy on this right side, getting a couple of shots in. The game is getting closer.
Yeah, Titan, great heads-up plays there on the defense with the fireball and on the offense with that bar barrel spirit skeletons combo. Defensive fireball going to come down, but these piggies still are going to load up. That's going to be in arrow fireball range. Arrow's going to come down and take this game, and that's going to be a solid set 1 victory for LeBron James. They are 2-0, 2-0, and 2-0 today. Cashman, you know what time it is?
Oh, is it pun? Is it pun time?
No, it's not pun time just yet.
Oh.
It's not pun time just yet. That's
Don't tease me like that.
You gotta close. Job ain't finished. Job ain't finished, Cash.
Okay, I'll take that as a pun. That's a basketball reference. I accept it. I like that.
Glad you got it.
It's weird too because didn't Titan lose in the first set yesterday as well? He lost the duels, but Inthrill came in the mega draft and was able to have success. And then the 2v2, that's what I'm looking at right now because we saw Bob the Rock dominate in 1v1 duel format yesterday. We also saw his partner Sosa not dominate but play well enough. We need to meet. If Sosa doesn't win this next match, this next set in this mega draft, I'm scared to see the 2v2 of Bob and Sosa because they didn't really do great in the tournament, the 2v2 tournament we had a couple of weeks ago. And Titan and Thrill, on the other hand, we already talked about it. They were cohesive. They were one single player. They were 2 players, 2 great players fused into one amazing player. And that could get tricky.
It is time for this Polish team to go and regroup. Got to get back to the drawing board and get ready to get this draft going. It is time for Inthrill to give us a thriller and clutch up for his team as LeBron James in halftime leading by 1-0, looking to close this out. What do we need to see from Inthrill to get this to a 1-1 situation and force it to the 2v2 that we want to see, Cash?
It's so, this is why I love Mega Draft. It's so hard to say what to do. There's no one answer. A simple answer would be win. That's an answer. Just win, but also recognizing how to win and how to win early. The draft is arguably the most important part of the Mega Draft. People think, well, you got to win the game. No, you can also win the draft itself. So recognizing a way to win and recognizing ways to put your opponent in awkward situations, if that is abusing the spells available or abusing the win conditions available. We saw yesterday that Miner was the only viable win condition. We saw Nate take that win condition. And then, wait, who did he play yesterday? It was against, who was it yesterday? Didn't I cast that with you, Minnie? I can't remember who it was. Nonetheless, we're going into Mega Draft now. I want to see some picks. I want to see some good picks, but I want to see some picks with a purpose here.
Time for all the game knowledge to be poured into these single drafts. Log being taken from Sosa, we know him to be a psycho player all the time. Very
interesting
cycle-based drafts for him.
Yeah, very interesting board too, because look at the big spells. You have Rocket. That's it. And if we're looking at the win conditions, you have a lot of really good ones. You have the Hog Rider, you have the Miner, you have the Goblin Barrel, you have the Balloon, you have the Ram Rider, you have the Drill, you have the Miner up there. You could go Electro Giant as well. There is a Tornado to pair with it, but there's no Lightning as well. There's no Earthquake as well to support if your opponent goes with a Building. And Inthrill, just going very simple. We know Mighty Miner's a great champion, and he picks it early. He says, hey, I want this champion. I'm taking this champion, and then takes the Barb Barrel. Both very patient right now.
Yeah, it just feels like there's so many good things to pick. I was kind of thinking that Sosa could have gone maybe a Fisherman or some Zappies to completely neutralize this Mighty Miner, especially with those Zappies. But you also have a Bowler that, if you look at it, if you pick the Fisherman and the Bowler, you're sitting really pretty, especially if you take a Monk. There really isn't too much. These Zappies are 100% going to be taken off the board. They just seem way too valuable. There's an Inferno Dragon up for grabs. There's a Mighty Miner on the board. It just seems like these Zappies are a must-have in this draft. But as we approach the midway point of the draft, we go. Inthrill, very solid pick, and a Furnace that I also really like, because if you look at it, like you mentioned, Cash, no other big spells besides that Rocket. And there's Sosa with the Fisherman pick that we talked about. Interesting to see how these players are going to finish out the second half of this draft.
Yeah, I don't know what Sosa's doing right now. I don't know what he's cooking. It looks like he's going control, but if you go control with Miner, you usually have a building and a solid building, a cannon, a bomb tower, an Inferno tower, but that's not available. So decides to go with the Fisherman instead. I love the Skeleton Dragons pick here. I think it's simple. I don't think you overthink this. If you're Inthrill, you pick the Skeleton Dragons because your opponent has no clean ways to deal with it. Not only that, but he can't even pick a card to help him in that situation. Goes with the Snowball, which I'm fine with. Lock up a very solid small spell, your second spell in your deck. But those Skeleton Dragons are calling my name. Also, the Drill could be an option. And no, goes with the Lumberjack instead.
Yeah, I was going to say, it looked like Inthrill was going the Drill route. There is a NATO on the board, so maybe a Balloon would be somewhat counterintuitive, but we did see that Vitor matchup in which the Tornado, or the Surgical Goblin matchup with that Tornado, was really just not efficient enough against the Balloon. So Inthrill, definitely a viable route as he decides to go. These Rascals pick from Sosa though, there's no way to get rid of them on the defensive ends, and Sosa may wrap this up with a Rocket and or a Monk. He still hasn't picked his champion, and there you go. There's the Skeleton Dragons. You
Great pick. I respect that pick. And the last card, Lumberloon, just looks just the most realistic. Ooh, going with Drill. I didn't even think of that, because you can use the Drill as a defensive building to pull the Balloon into the middle, but then it also has offensive capabilities. And no, goes with the Ram Rider. I like that even more. I really, really like that pick. Underrated is the Ram Rider when it gets raged up. It deals a ton of damage, but it also moves very quickly. It charges quicker, and if it gets on tower, it could deal a ton of damage. Inthrill, I like Inthrill's deck a little bit more, I think, but also Sosa, he's got enough talent to make this a match.
Definitely an unexpected Ram Rider there. We were talking about that Bowler in the draft at the start. Could have been very good at countering the majority of those win cons. But if you save it for the last pick, very, very surprising and very efficient. There isn't too much to really counter the Ram Rider. One of the best counters that he's got is going to be that Fisherman that he can use to pull it away from tower, or to activate King Tower if he wants to be taking a charge or two.
Yeah, and then goes with the miner at the back instead of getting on these furnaces. These furnace can get annoying very, very, very quickly. Is that Fire Spirit going to get a jump on tower? It gets a jump on tower and deals damage to the Zappy. So that was a really good Fire Spirit dealing with Inthrill's the Fire Spirit that spawned from the furnace, but also dealing some damage. And those Fire Spirits, you always forget how much damage they deal. Ram Rider on the right side, though, has to use the drill on defense. Having the drill and the Fisherman, that is going to be good defense. The Zappies are still alive. Ram Rider doesn't get on tower, and the Zappies are going to get taken out. But look at these Fire Spirits. We already talked about them. They can deal a lot of damage, and boom, out of everything, out of that entire push, you'd think Ram Rider's going to deal damage. You thought the Zappies were going to deal damage. No, no, no. It's that little fiery boy that ends up dealing the damage for Inthrill.
Fire Spirit coming in clutch for both of these players on respective ends. Miner coming down the lane, gonna be picked up by some Rascal Split here. Furnace loading up, and just, I feel like we're gonna be seeing this Furnaces all game. They're gonna do a great job of chipping against the miners that may go to the tower, and also the overwhelm from them because Sosa doesn't have a real answer for them. It's gonna be huge.
Yeah, I really don't know what you do with those furnaces, because especially in double elixir, when your opponent can start playing 2 furnaces, it can get really annoying. So we could maybe see Sosa use these miners to help deal with these furnaces just so it doesn't get out of control. But no, going with the miner at the back, he already has the damage lead and he just wants to keep it that way. Ram Rider and Skeleton Dragons push on the right side. Log to push it back to reset the charge. Snowball comes in, pushes all the units away. Still, though, not enough for the Ram Riders to get on tower. Skeleton Dragons are going to deal a decent amount of damage to this kind of counter push that Sosa has. Miner at the back and the drill as well. Okay, this is a untraditional attack, but he is going to be able to deal a little bit of damage, and the Rascal Girls do not get on tower. Very clean defense from Inthrill.
Yeah, very aggressive attack from Sosa as well. It felt like there just wasn't enough with that attack to really commit to such an offense intense push, because now he's got a huge counter push to deal with.
Yeah,
is going to get a charge as a result of all that elixir being committed. Game kind of evening out, not too much of an advantage for Sosa as he leads by 300 damage. Drill coming in, will we see a miner this time around? The main problem that Sosa has is that there's no fireball. He does have the log, but there's no fireball to really push back or get rid of the units that are going to be defending the drills and the miners.
This is the push I'm excited for. The Lumberjack in front of the Ram Rider. Fisherman does pull the Ram Rider away. Snowball is going to give some space for that Ram Rider to get the charge on tower. Skeleton Dragon doesn't target onto the tower, instead targets onto the Rascals, and the Rascals have been MVP for Sosa, at least on this defensive side. And it's weird because if you just looking at the gameplay itself, not looking at the towers, it feels like Inthrill is in control. It feels like he should be in the lead, but he's not. There's a little bit of damage. Oh, we're seeing Sosa switch up lanes, recognizing, okay, I can't play one lane, because if I keep going in one lane, I'm gonna get overwhelmed. And Miner goes on top of the furnace. We finally see that coming out just to get a little bit more control back into this game. But I don't know, the longer this game goes on, does it not feel like Sosa's in a really bad situation?
Yeah, it feels like Inthrill's just really getting in control of this one. What I'm interested to see is how the Tornado is going to come into play in triple elixir. Maybe we'll see some Tornadoes to pull away the defensive troop on those drills or those miners. He hasn't used it the whole game, so it is a possibility that Inthrill, he really could have forgotten that it's even in the deck at this point.
Yeah.
As he approached triple elixir, Inthrill losing the advantage, that the momentum that he was getting as Sosa switching lanes, really getting back into the mix of things. But now he's going to have to worry about this counter push when he defends his drill.
Yeah, Miner gets a couple of shots on tower, and that's the difference. It's Inthrill. It looks scary. The pushes look scary. The Rascals should be more than enough to deal with this. The Rascals have been absolute MVP on defense. The reason these towers are so healthy, it's because of these Rascals. That was such a great pick from Sosa, because any other card, okay, no way, am I talking too soon? Is this the point where this Ram Rider gets on tower? Is this the point where we see some damage come in? And it doesn't look like that's going to be the case. Log comes in, pushes the Ram Rider away. The Goblins that spawn from the drill clean up the rest of the Ram Rider. We have another Ram Rider, and this time it is raged up. Great distraction. That Ram Rider is going to get on tower. No, Log pushes it away. Fisherman pulls it away, and that was a really well played game from Sosa. Even looking into it, going into this match, I thought Inthrill won the draft, but he just won the battle. He didn't win the war. Sosa won the war.
Yeah, match and game point for the LeBron James team, getting ready to finish this off. And perilous position for this Polish team, who we saw so cohesive in the last game that they played yesterday. But it just feels like this LeBron James team is proving too much. We saw some great gameplay from Inthrill, but it just seemed like this Rascal sort of cycle deck from Sosa with the miner and the drill. he just couldn't break through due to lack of big spells in the draft. Like we mentioned, only a Rocket, and Sosa proved to be able to take advantage of that a lot better than Infernal was.
Yeah, I am very impressed with what Sosa did there, because it seemed like he was going in, but there was a couple of times. Remember that one time when he went with the miner and the drill, and we thought, I was like, oh, that's an overcommitment. That's 7 elixir. Is he going to get a counter push? Is it going to be too big for him to deal with? No, he dealt with it every single time perfectly. Rascals doing rascal things. But it's funny because he always had the perfect amount of elixir. It's almost like he knew what he had to do. He's like, okay, I can go in because I'm going to have this much elixir. I can use my rascals. I can use the drill. I can use the log. I can use whatever I need to use, but whatever I need, I will have enough for it. And so he just looked very comfortable, it just looked easy. And that matchup shouldn't have been that easy.
Well, let's see if he's as sharp as he was in game 1 as he will be in game 2. Arrows being the first pick in this draft right off the bat, looking to prevent Firecracker and Minion Horde value as well as those minions. So decent first pick there. Inthra looking to get a poison this time around just to get some really great crowd control.
Yeah,
there we
great
go.
Poison pick.
Let's see if he picks up the Snowball or the Barbell, or if he's going to pick up a Troop, kind of let it pass. Does end up taking the Barbell. Does have the option to take Graveyard later on as well. Sosa still just dipping his feet in the water in this draft. Let's see which route he takes.
Yeah, I like Inthril set himself up for success. He got the big spell, he got the small spell, and if we're looking at Sosa goes with the miner, but you don't really have great ways to support the miner. Yes, the arrows are okay, but you really wanted to combo that miner with the poison. So maybe we're seeing Sosa take the miner just so Inthril doesn't have that option. Going with, it looks like Sosa's just doing exactly what he did in the first game. And if it ain't broke, don't fix it. He's going miner control, and I wouldn't be surprised if he takes a lot. I wouldn't be surprised if he takes the Rascals again.
Yeah, talk about playing to your strength. We've seen it work with Nate in yesterday's draft. Will we see it again with Sosa today? But Inthril taking the Monk, that's going to be a great counter to those Rascals. Will we see some other tailor-made Rascal counters? Maybe you can pick up an Executioner. And Sosa just gonna play the minor control game yet again. Maybe he'll go ahead and pick up an EQ for some minor EQ cycle. This cannon cart, I feel like Inthril could really pick it up and make a very menacing graveyard deck if that's the route he wants to take.
Yeah, I love this graveyard route for Inthril. It seems like it's the one that makes the most sense. He could maybe... Ooh, those were quick picks. Okay, Inthril taking the Rascals and the minions, which I don't mind. Yes, your opponent has arrows, but now you only have one set of arrows. You have to use them for the minions, the Rascals, and I wouldn't be surprised, like you said, I wouldn't be surprised if he also uses Graveyard, so maybe having to force out the arrows on the Graveyard. And we see an Earthquake coming out for... Interesting pick. Yeah, you just want to use it, I guess, to deal a little bit more damage to your opponent's tower, but your opponent doesn't have a building, so it's not going to get the maximum utility you would want for it, and that's a crucial pick, too.
Yeah, Earthquake just going to be used to cycle, and something I would really love from Sosa, even though it doesn't really fit in his deck at this point, an Executioner will really cause Inthril problems, because even if he uses the Monk Reflection, there's nothing to pull or retarget the Executioner from locking onto the Monk and everything behind it, such as Rascal Girls and Minions. But I love the fact that Inthril, we've talked about it, take your opponent's win condition and he pulls the rug. Doesn't matter that Sosa already has arrows. He does end up picking Graveyard, by the way, for the win condition, but Inthril just picked those 2 cards in succession so quickly. He's like, you have arrows, I don't care, let's play.
Yeah, it just shows that they had a plan. Either they're talking with their coaches, they're talking with their partner, but at the end of the day, they have a plan. And already we're seeing the Earthquake come out for the cycle purposes. It also, I guess, will get a lot of utility against the Graveyard. It's very good at dealing with Graveyard. Very underrated at dealing with Graveyard. So I like what Sosa's doing. He's betting on himself. He's like, hey, I just won with this type of deck. I'm going to play it again because I know I can play this deck and I know I can play it well. Where we see Inthril, totally different archetypes. Still kind of more control-y, but these Graveyards, we've seen the power of Graveyards in one Graveyard, and that could be a tower down like that.
Yeah, gotta keep in mind Barbell and Poison are going to be the main defenses to the Skeleton King ability, but when that Skeleton King ability throw out a Barbell, so they're gonna have to overcommit with the Poison or be in some trouble because there's nothing else. Despite the Royal Ghost doing splash, it doesn't do the same job as a Valkyrie, just because the Valkyrie has a 360 splash and the Royal Ghost is just designated in front of where he's striking, so it could be very problematic. I see a very opportune chance for Sosa to defend nearly perfect the entire time and just chip away those miners.
Yeah, that defending perfect. There's a lot of things you got to defend, but if anybody can do it, I think Sosa can. And then if we're looking at the offense of Sosa, yeah, the EQs are going to deal damage. You can't stop an EQ. But these miners, how much damage are these miners really going to do on tower? Because Thrill has a ton of ways to deal with these miners and get them off the board quick. And not only that, but then that unit will still be alive and have counter push potential. So we're seeing a very slow-paced first 2 minutes. No big, huge, crazy pushes. I probably won't see any from Sosa, but it's when will we see Thrill pull the trigger on that first graveyard? When do you think we'll see it, Mini?
Well, as we head into double elixir, definitely much more of an opportune time will really start to overwhelm. However, we mentioned the EQ pick from Sosa Cash. We didn't realize how good of how good of a graveyard counter it would be. We're like, it can chip away at the tower, but it's going to be such a good tool, especially when he's got to be using those arrows at the bridge against those rascals and minions. It'd be such a good tool to really clean up those skeletons and give his troops time to fight off the tanks and supporting troops behind.
Yeah, and here we get the first graveyard coming in on this right side, an EQ to defend with the help of the Fire Spirit. The guards are going to come back, and a couple of lucky little Larrys at the back tower. So a little bit of damage coming in, but really not that much. Like you said, Sosa just clean defenses, and if he just keeps this up, he wins this game. He has to play perfect defense in Clash Royale, but he can do it. Miner on tower right now. Skeletons do not pick up the Miner. Miner gets 3 shots on tower. Monk does get taken out on the left side, and now we've seen an aggressive graveyard on the left side, but a great bridge block with the Knight by Sosa.
Yeah, we're going to have to see an EQ come down. That's a lot of skeletons racking up on the tower, more than Sosa expected for sure. Probably going to see a minor Fire Spirit come down here on offense, as he did have to overspend on that offense that Intel, but got great value out of it. And Sosa's looking to switch lanes here, completely gets the Monk used up on the lane. Light slip up there from Inthril, could have played in the back and gotten more elixir to go for this push. Gonna pop the ability to prevent the arrows. Yes, no, he holds off, and that's going to be an easy counter. And now Sosa's got momentum for this next couple 30 seconds.
Yeah, it's funny too, because Sosa's invested so much on this left lane, playing so many Earthquakes to get damage, but then recognizes, oh, I don't have a big spell. I have no way to deal with these big pushes. So if I go in one lane, I'm going to get a little bit of damage, but these counter pushes, especially now that we're about to get into triple elixir, they might just overwhelm you. You don't have enough tools to defend it. And we're seeing the poison coming in on offense. We see the graveyard coming in on offense, and we're seeing a lot of damage coming in as well. Having to play the Earthquake late, and also there was a Royal Ghost on that right side tower dealing damage. So very good situation for Thrill. He has the damage lead, he has the elixir lead, and if he just keeps doing what he's doing, these graveyards, I think it's going to be too much for Sosa to handle.
Yeah, in the driver's seat is Thrill. Arrows and Miner coming in, but the Miner's not able to lock onto the tower. Now we just see cycle. Will we see a cannon here to deal with this graveyard? Yes, we will. Minions and Knight coming into the rescue, and I just don't see how Sosa deals enough damage to get back into this game.
I know the answer. He can't. The Miner's not going to deal enough damage. Maybe he can get really lucky with a Skeleton King ability, but we already talked about it. Thrill has ways to defend the Skeleton King as well. He has the Royal Ghost, he has the Rascals, he has the Barb Barrel, he has tons of options. The minions are great, and these graveyards have been a problem for Sosa every single time. The Poison's dealing damage, the Larrys are dealing damage, and even the Monk ability was a little underrated there. Just being a really good tank for the graveyard to get maximum utility every single time, and that was a great deck pick, a great deck, not pick, a great deck make by Thrill, but also really, really well played. And now that we go into this third game, I think Sosa's got to pivot. I don't think you can keep doing this Miner control route, because your opponents can recognize it, clearly can make a deck that can counter it, and I don't care how good you are, if there's a matchup that's a 90-10, 80-20, even if you're the best player in the world, it's still going to give you troubles.
Yeah, props to Thrill for really getting the upper hand in that draft. We questioned the Rascals and the Minions pick, but they just proved to be so efficient. Sosa relied on those arrows to make some room for the Miner. When he used his Miner, he could defend with Skeletons or Royal Ghosts, and then he also had the Monk ability to complement on offense, really putting Sosa into uncomfortable situations. We mentioned it. He had to defend perfectly for the entire game, and chip was never the case. Sosa was just against the tide the entire time.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting, and it's crazy to think that Mega Draft is going to be so crucial, and also that's the first game that Sosa and Bob the Rock have lost. So this is going to be interesting. We haven't seen them deal with this adversity before. What are they going to do? How are they going to regroup? Are they going to be able to overcome this hurdle? Because we talked about getting to 2v2 against players like Inthrill and Titan. You don't want to be there. They are amazing. And it's now or never. It's now or never. It's do or die. It's game 7 right now, I think, for Sosa and Bob the Rock. So let's get into game number 3, the do or die match in this board. Let's see what it's got in store for us. Any big spells? We got Rocket. We got Lightning. No Poison and no Fireball. A lot of decent spells, though. EQ's good. We see arrows as well. Any cards that jump out to you right away?
Good bunch of big spells from the get-go, but the lack of a log, I feel like, is gonna impact Sosa fairly significantly. I feel like he's already kind of opening himself up to go that minor route once again, but this time around we see a bowler castman, and this time there's not even a fisherman to deal with it. So bowler, I feel, is gonna get so much value in this matchup. Not even an Inferno Dragon or any troops from the skies besides the minions that are gonna put in work onto it. If he's able to take the monk and also the bowler, I feel like either of these players could make a really good deck surrounding that. All these and Intro looks to be going maybe some piggies route. Yeah, this draft is going super quick, and he picks up the bomb tower and the flying machine. We mentioned no fireball. Could he be going pigs here?
I don't mind the route, because look at what do we got for counters to the pigs. If you're Sosa, you got Royal Delivery. You can go with some, I don't know, some goblins. You can go with guards. That's a decent amount of DPS. You can go with cannon. You can go with the cage. It's okay, but it's not perfect. And I like Inthrill kind of taking this bomb tower, because if he wants to go Royal Hogs, he can, but he can pivot. He has options right now, and options are great. Yo, that miner is calling my name right now. Who do you think is going to pick it? It's probably named Sosa, correct?
Yeah, I was gonna say Sosa looks to be going the exact same route as the first.
Double down.
Yeah, but I completely agree. Inthrill has options here. He could go Hog, he could go Royal Hogs, he could go with a Miner, he could go any way he wants. But the way that he structured this draft, picking a building and then the supporting flying machine, then picking his hero and some cheap little cards, he has all the avenues open. He's going to be waiting on Sosa for the most part to make some sort of mistake. Rage picked up for the small spell. I don't mind it. I'd like to see a delivery, but I don't mind it either. It's going to be very threatening on the offensive end.
That makes me think he's not going the miner route in Thrill. So, of course, Sosa picks the miner. You know what? At first, you don't succeed. Try again. And Sosa is... That's the mantra for Sosa today. Just keep doing what's working. I like playing miner. We saw Nate have a lot of success with it yesterday, and Sosa is doubling down. We do see the Royal Hogs, and I do like the Royal Hogs paired with the Rage, because what is Sosa's last pick here? Cannon. Simple, but not great. It's okay. It's not great. And then Lightning. Ooh, that's a spicy last pick.
Yeah, very interesting with the Lightning to make some room when he goes in with those Royal Hogs against the Cannon. However, I think Sosa got the upper hand in this draft. He's got the minions and archers to defend these Royal Hogs, especially with that cannon. Even if you're lighting the cannon, that's a 3 elixir overcommitment just to try to get some damage with the Royal Hogs. While those are going to work, you're going to have the archers and the minions putting in work on their end. So if Sosa can defend... He doesn't even have to defend perfectly this time around. He has a lot of answers for this deck.
Oh, I don't know. This is scaring me. Royal Hogs, Flying Machine, Mighty Miner. That's a lot of things to deal with. And it looks like this is actually a perfect defense. Okay, that was way easier than I thought. I thought that was going to be at least a little bit of damage on one or both towers. And nope, just simple. Guards, cannon, archers, boom. Wash your hands, onto the next attack. And Miner, we know what Miner does. It gets a little bit of damage. Chip, chip, chip. We see the Earthquake come in. Chip, chip, chip. So Inthrill has to try to mitigate as much damage as possible from Sosa, but also he has to figure out a way to get one of these Flying Machines on tower, get a Mighty Miner on tower, get these Royal Hogs on tower, and potentially rage them up, because that Rage hasn't been played yet. But if he plays it in a right time with the Flying Machine, with the Mighty Miner, that could be even interesting as well. There are some ways for Inthrill to win, but he has to figure out a way to do so.
Yeah, there are avenues. That flying machine, like you mentioned, I think is going to be a key component for that win. There's no real way for Sosa to take it out unless it crosses the arena, and that's when Inthril can start to make plays happen. Sosa, he's got to execute. Inthril, he's just got to rely on some good playmaking to really try to get past. Ball is in Sosa's court. If he defends perfectly, he can always... That wasn't an intended pun, by the way. Pun not intended on that one.
I'll add it to the counter. I'll add it to the counter. And there it is, the Rage. We see the Rage coming on top of that flying machine. Flying machine is getting tanked for. That's already towered down. It's over. Mini, it's over. Never mind.
Not over yet. LeBron James is no stranger to getting back up against Tide, and hey, he is down a lot of damage. He's not in the driver's seat like we're used to seeing him, but
no,
there is still time. There is still another set if need be, but it does feel like this one with its attack is all but over, Cash.
Yeah, I just don't know. We're already seeing Sosa. It's history repeating itself. We're seeing Sosa realize he deals a lot of damage in one lane. Your opponent, he doesn't have a big spell, so his opponent's able to defend those miners, build a big counter push and overwhelm, and then Sosa says, oh, wait a second, I can't deal with that. Let me pivot to the other lane, the stronger lane. And now he has to start from square one, getting these miners on tower, trying to deal a little bit of damage. But with what, 10 seconds left before OT? There's only 762 HP on that right side tower for Sosa, and that is terrifying. And because Inthrill's last card is a lightning, so that's really close to spell cycle range. A little bit more damage from Royal Hogs or Flying Machines, and this game could be over.
Yeah, Royal Hogs and Lightning combo time may just be here. And it's Lightning cycle time, it seems to be. Lightning does 317 on its own, gonna bring it to 634. So he just needs a couple of raids or some hog shots on the tower in order to really finish off this game. And it seems like anytime he gets a 10 elixir like right here, we're gonna see him going with these Royal Hogs, and the Lightning is gonna be super problemsome from Sosa. But hey, that is some great recognition. That's what makes LeBron James one of the best teams of all time, knowing that he's got a Lightning, he's ready to use it. Pig pushing the last piggy with the archers in order to place that kin outside of range.
Yeah, that was super clean, but this flying machine is terrifying. Rage comes in, but goes to deal damage on the tower. So yeah, this is it. This is the start of the spell cycle. So you said it did 317, correct?
Yes, 317, so that's going to be 2 more rages, but ooh, that Ice Wizard shot does put in range. I believe guards can lightning block, though, so you do have to be careful if you're Inthril. Still doesn't have that lightning and cycle, probably going to go in with pigs and then play the lightning in the back. Trying to get the guards. Lightning. Gets it a little bit too early. Great attempt there from Sosa, but hey, when it's pedal to the metal, the Polars boys come through. They push it to a game 3, Cash, and now it's time for both teams to go back to the drawing board and see what they can deliver.
Yeah, this is scaring me. We haven't seen what Bob the Rock and Sosa are capable of in 2v2, at least recently. Have they been practicing? Have they been working on their 2v2 craft? Because we saw it fall flat in the recent 2v2 tournament. And now being in the situation we saw yesterday, they absolutely dominated in the first set. They dominated in the second set. Duels and Mega Draft, that was their bread and butter. But they just lost in their bread and butter. They just lost the bread or the butter, whatever is the second one in that equation. It's not looking good for LeBron James. I'm scared for them. Do you think there's a way they can pull through here?
You know, after seeing Inthril play so well and Titan being ready to jump into this, I really don't know what's gonna happen, but I'm really eager to find out, which we will. We'll be right back after this break. Welcome back. Game 7 of the NBA Finals is set. I'm joined by Cashman live at the arena. We're about to see these two teams face off in a 2v2 showdown. Set 3, the Polish boys fighting back in set number 2, taking this to a set 3. Cashman, 2v2. This is our is it our favorite game mode? I think I'd safe to say that it's our favorite game mode.
Yeah, for just because you said, sure, it's our favorite game mode. I like Mega Draft personally, huge fan of Mega Draft, but I didn't realize how much I was going to like 2v2 because I remember watching 2v2 in the past and it wasn't my favorite, but now with evolutions and being able to kind of, the deck diversity just seems out of this world. And it's the only mode in Clash Royale where we can see that because you can use 2 evolutions in one deck. You can use the same evolution, you can use different evolutions. And we were talking about which team looked the best in 2v2 yesterday. It's the Polish power. It's Titan and in Thrill. They looked amazing. Are they going to be able to continue this reign of dominance in 2v2? I'm excited to see it. They put on a show. I want to see it again.
I think we all do. LeBron James going to be making their Snapdragon season finale 2v2 debut as they shut door only in 2 sets yesterday. So interested to see how this will play out in terms of their decks. We know that Bob loves his RG, Sosa loves his cycle. It's time. Less chatter. Let's get right into a game. Game number 1, NBA Finals is ready, Cashman.
Oh, let's go. It's game time. And still. Okay, I'm getting a little too carried away. We got minor wall breakers coming out for Bob the Rock and Sosa. So a very traditional deck. And then we're seeing Inthrill and Titan. I like that they're mixing up the champions. They're going Mighty Miner and they're going the Golden Knight. We know the Mighty Miner is great. But I also like the Golden Knight pairing up with this Tornado, being able to deal with all these squishier units, being able to dash on this Firecracker. No. A little aggressive with the dash, playing it a second too early, dashing on the Ice Spirit instead of the Firecracker in the tower. So already a little bit of a hiccup from Titan and Thrill, and that's something we did not see yesterday.
Yeah, already a significant elixir lead, but like you said, it's not about having an elixir lead, it's what you can do with it. It's not pressuring, it's knowing how to pressure. This time around, they're on the receiving end of that pressure. Dark Prince cleaning up the drill, but they still have a significant advantage. And with this Dark Prince, I'm interested to see this counter push. Bats on the floor. Do they have any cheap spell to take care of it? No, they do not. But still, a major elixir lead for LeBron James.
Yeah, and I love that Dark Prince. That's such a sneaky pick. It's going to be really good at dealing with these drills, and it's so funny. I was talking earlier, hey, we're going to see maybe people use different evolutions. We might see Royal Giant, we might see Skeletons. No. It's as simple as, yeah, Evo Firecracker, play Evo Firecracker, use Evo Firecracker. One thing that's surprising is with evolutions, you do have to play them multiple times, and there it finally is. That's the first Firecracker played by Inthrill, so lagging a little bit behind is Titan and Inthrill in the Firecracker off, the little game in the game. And these Evo Firecrackers, the way you deal with them, you just gotta fireball them, you can log them, you can double log them, you can log arrow them. All you have to do though is you have to deal with them immediately. Great King Tower activation against this miner with this Tornado. And now we have a little bit of a break going into ×2 elixir, and this is where we're gonna see some crazy plays because Evo Firecrackers, they're coming around the corner.
Oh yes, and these miners from Sosa and Bob are prone to give them Evo Firecracker value. Arrow's almost picking up that second Firecracker. Not quite the case. Firecracker in the back does a great job of dealing with the drill, but Titan and Inthrill do have a 500 damage lead as we're in the midway point of double elixir.
The huge mistake there, using the Tornado and the Fireball, trying to pull the Firecrackers towards the tower, but missing the Firecrackers, not going to be that big of an issue because look at the damage coming in from Titan and Thrill. This tower is going down so quick. I keep blinking and there's another 1,000 damage gone. I blink again and okay, now tower's gone. I gotta stop blinking. Minnie, if I keep blinking, all the towers are going to be gone in a second.
Blink and you'll miss it, but miss it will LeBron James miss that tower. Game 1 goes to the Polish boys, and LeBron James back against the wall.
I think I maybe made a mistake with my prediction. It's as simple as 2v2. We saw how pivotal it was and how it's a mode that you can't practice by yourself. You have to play it with your partner. And there's also, it's hard to, there's no competitive 2v2 mode in the game. So practicing, you have to put in effort. You have to reach out to other players. You have to reach out to other pro players to sufficiently be able to practice this mode. And clearly, Titan and Inthrill have been practicing. They look amazing. Where Sosa and Bob the Rock, just it's falling a little flat. We saw this in the 2v2 tournament that they struggled. They weren't able to get out of that first round, and it looks like 2v2 might be LeBron James's kryptonite.
Yeah, definitely struggling in game one. I'd like to see them go back to their roots, maybe some double RG with some firecracker action. So really try to pull this one back. It just felt like they didn't have any breathing room with drill after firecracker after firecracking coming in on that right-hand side tower. Had a lot of chances to really capitalize on some elixir advantages, but it just felt like the decks and the lack of having that evil firecracker in cycle at the time that they had those elixir advantages just proved to be too little for them to pull away with the match. And then after that, they had no chance to get any damage as they were stuck on the back foot the entire time with all those drills.
Yeah, and if I know one thing about Sosa, he loves to run it back. So I will not be surprised if we see that exact same deck come out from Sosa and Thrill, because if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I could... Is it arguable? I know this meta is still kind of forming in front of us, this 2v2 meta. We have a very small sample size, but this deck is one deck that really stands out in just how good it is on offense with the drills, with the firecrackers, with all the spells that you can use. It deals damage. And on defense, you have Mighty Miner, you have these firecrackers that can be annoying, you have the goblins, you have options. I don't know if this is the best deck in the meta. It's definitely strong, but how do you counter it? That's what I was trying to think of. How do you counter this deck, Manny? Is there a deck?
You know, we'll find out in this game too. Me personally, I would try to go copy it and use their own weapons against them, which looks like it might just be the case. Wall breakers out from Bob the Rock and Sosa, but you mentioned them repeating decks repeatedly time after time again. You do it once or twice, you know, you call that resilience, but you do it 3, 4, 5 times, it doesn't work. That's delusion. That's when you gotta just switch it up and try something else.
And that's exactly what they did.
Yeah, they go ahead and go with drill this time around, and Titan in Thrill gonna be rocking to the Royal Giant.
Yeah, it's funny that Bob the Rock and Sosa took the strategy where it's like, hey, if this deck's so good, we're just going to play this deck and we're just going to play it better. That's our strategy. And then Titan and Thrill did a little pivot. They decided to go with RG, and this RG is going to get on tower. Log does push it back. That's so funny to watch. Another log. Two tornadoes. You could just stall out the entirety. You don't even have to use a unit to deal with a Royal Giant anymore. You could just use spells because you have so many available in 2v2. I don't know if this is going to... Oh, I love that Mother Witch. That Mother Witch could be a problem. It does get fireballed right away. King Tower does get activated. Poison comes in. That Goblin gets a bunch of stabs. And on that left side tower, Bob the Rock and Sosa, maybe using the best deck in the game. And the reason I said it was so good is because it can deal damage. And that left side tower, it got a lot of damage dealt.
Yeah, coming out with the first punch, already having that tower down to half health almost. And this time it's going to be Titan and Inthril taking charge with this Royal Giant going down the right-hand side lane. Already overwhelming the bridge with the Goblins and the Mighty Miner. No time for the Fisherman to get a pull. That's going to be a clean defense and a minor ability popped here. Yes, no, maybe holds off. Just felt like it was a great time for that, yeah.
Had the elixir too. Very interesting.
Now Phoenix respawns Fisherman on tower, all courtesy of the lack of the ability there from Bob.
Yeah, maybe a little bit of a misplay there, but I'm fine with it. It's so small, it's not going to make a big difference. It's all about these Royal Giants. Is Titan and Thrill, are they able to get these Royal Giants through these defenses? Because if we look at the defense, there's an Inferno Tower, but there's only one Inferno Tower, and you could play multiple Royal Giants potentially. So there is a world if they build this big push, because yes, they have the Fireball, but this is looking terrifying, Minnie. We have the Royal Giant on the right side. We have the Lumberjack on tower on the right side. That's a ton of damage. Log comes in to push it off. The right side's okay, but look at the left side. Fisherman's going to be able to pull this Mighty Miner away. Royal Giant already on tower, pushing this Golden Knight away as well. And that tower, it's gone. Minnie, it's gone. Just like that. We found the counter deck. We did it.
We did, and that is... Now, this feels so quick. Feels like my heart's just been ripped out of my chest.
Yeah, that was another moment where you blink and you miss it. But that's why I like 2v2 so much, because you can do those crazy plays. You can go with double drill. You can go with double Royal Giant easier. You can go with double the amount, double the evos, double the champions, double everything. And in that situation, double the damage, because the damage output was incredible. And that Royal Giant deck, I don't want to say, like, just run it back. That deck looked amazing. I love that each of the players, look at the cards they had. They had cards. It looks like if you try to think of a Royal Giant deck, you have options. It's like, okay, do I use the Phoenix? Do I use the Royal Ghost? Do I use the Lumberjack? Do I use the Goblins? Do I use the Electro Spirit? Well, in 2v2, you can do all of that. You can throw in the Mother Witch. You can throw in the Monk. You can throw in everything you need to. And that deck was, and they had the Goblin Cage, which I really like, just to add a little bit more defense, where just the deck composition of Titan and Inthril. Wait, Titan and Inthril? No, yeah. Wait, is it over?
It's over.
Oh, it's over. Yeah, Titan and Inthril won the first game too. Oh my gosh, I was talking about the next game. Maybe I'm just too excited about 2v2. I want to see more.
Unfortunately, that's going to be the last that we're going to be seeing of LeBron James in this competition. It was a great run for German boys for our World NBA Finals contenders. Let's take a look at our bracket. We have our finals ready and set. Surgical Goblin and Vitor ready to take on the Polish duo that has been cleaning house left and right.
Minnie, I'm going to ask you a question. I've already asked this to Rich. Is Surgical Goblin back? What is the answer?
It's the same answer as the Lava Hound question. No. I'm just kidding. Surgical Goblin does have what it takes, and I'm really excited to see this finals matchup. I believe that's going to be a great one. Let's go ahead and get into it right after a break. We'll be right back.
The Snapdragon Pro Series powered by Samsung Galaxy is brought to you by Snapdragon Elite Gaming, Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra, Monster Energy, and DHL.
Welcome to the place where dreams come true, where everything you want can be yours, if and only if you're willing to work for them, you're willing to hurt for them, but most of all, you're willing to be...
Welcome back, everybody. It's time for the grand final of the Snapdragon Pro Series Season 3, and this is going to be a great one. 2 semifinals down with 2 very different teams. On one side, Surgical Goblin and Vitor, 2 of the most experienced players in professional Clash Royale. On the other, 2 very talented pros in Inthril and Titan who are looking to take a big win here and throw a huge feather in their caps for this competition. Cashman, we just saw Titan and Inthril put it together in that last set. A phenomenal performance in 2v2. Talk to me about your opinion on these 2 guys as we go into our final.
It's talent. That's the word that comes. It's talent, especially in 2v2. If we're looking at the tiebreaker, the game of all games in this tournament, it comes down to 2v2 mode. And the best 2v2 pair that we've seen so far in this tournament, it's got to be Titan and Inthril. They just look like they're on another level. They play so well together, and I do believe that we are going to, if this gets to a third and final set, how do you not think Polish Power is not going to get it done again?
They're certainly looking good. Let's look at the lineups as we go into this final set and see if both teams are sticking with the same order and kick things off. Surgical Goblin has been great in duels so far. Vitor had a rough game 1, but then picked very well in games 2 and games 3. Mini, you know, we've got 2 guys who've both been very, very good in the duel mode, but then now we go take a look, same situation for the Polish squad, Titan and duels. Inthril has been struggling in Mega Draft. Is that where Surge and Vitor can take a big advantage here?
Yeah, you definitely have to try to look for the weaknesses in every single. Been somewhat rocky in the duels. Inthril, not perfect, but sometimes been able to get the job done. If you're Surge and Vitor, you have to look to try to punish in every single open. It's only 3 sets. You have a very small margin for error, and with stakes this high, nothing close but perfection. Perfection is
That's
needed
right.
to get this one.
Both teams have secured at least $2,000, making it the top 2, but another $2,000 on the line as the winner takes home $4,000 for the championship in this Season 3 competition. And talking about championships, we have another big one here in the caster's booth, our predictions. And after the last round with me getting the right pick for Titan and Inthril, Mini is behind, way behind, I mean just dreadfully behind at this point. But right now, all tied up are myself and Cashman, and I was going to get everyone's predictions. Let's do it very quickly, since it looks like we're already into game. Cashman, who you picking?
I already kind of got a sneak peek. I saw what you picked, and just so I'm going to win, I think Surge is back, but I'm going with the Polish guys. They're so good in 2v2, and they're just going to keep doing it.
All right, we'll catch up with Cashman after this match. I'm picking Surge and Vitor. I know that you're doing the same thing here, Mini.
Yeah, gotta rock with these guys. Been so solid the entire time. Plus, kind of salty about this Polish team beating my LeBron James squad, so hopefully they can get some redemption for us.
So here we go, looking like some Hog versus Royal Giant to kick things off. Easy King Tower activation will give up 1 shot from the Hog.
Roar G gonna be coming in from Surge. Titan rocking Hog Rider. The tower or Inferno Tower still gotta see there. But if it is Inferno Tower Rich, he's gonna have such a difficult time, especially with Light to it besides the Electro Spirit, to really break through.
We'll see if Surge can pick that up with the Barbaro or Fisherman get in the way here. As we get past the midway point of regulation time, so far no significant damage, but that Hog will open up a bit of a lead. Interesting note, we've been seeing so many opportunities or instances where the Royal Giant is like first play RG for the RG player. I have to assume at this point that maybe Surgical Goblin's RG was a little bit buried.
Yeah, Surge is definitely just going to be looking to cycle those Evos on end. This Hog's doing a great job of getting damage early on, already putting that tower into 2000s as we get into double elixir. And this is where Surge is going to be able to dedicate much more elixir in order to tank for that Inferno Tower. Already going in here at the bridge. Bomb Tower going to be the case from Titan. No Inferno Tower this time around. It seems kind of perilous to him. Fireball going to try to open the gateway for that later on, but this time around, this Bomb Tower is going down fairly quickly. That's a RG shot on the tower already.
But overall, that could have been a whole lot worse. Decent defense, but now thirsting for elixir is Titan, and smelling blood in the water. Surgical Goblin goes and gets the Royal Giant at the bridge one more time, opens this lead up by nearly 700 HP.
Great amount of damage on the board for Surgical as Hog Rider comes in. Gonna get minimum 2 shots is the case. Fireball to clean up the Firecracker on the bridge. Firecracker just get the shot off and get 100 or so more damage in. Evo RG queued up for Surgical. When he's gonna pull the trigger is the question. Raised up Phoenix might be a problem. There we go. Does get picked up by a Hog Rider. This Hog Rider is gonna get countered perfectly. And now it's time for Surgical to put in the pain on the offense. Will he be able to get this connection as this RG winds up? We know the Lumberjack and the Phoenix are coming in too.
So as we go into sudden death overtime, pretty even, and a big push coming down for Surgical Goblin. Many thoughts on keys to victory for both players in these final 2 minutes?
Titan's gotta keep his foot on the pedal while defending. Like here, this Hog Rider is gonna be super difficult to deal with. Gonna get a Lumberjack on top of the Firecracker as well, just to try to prevent it from getting damage. Great defense there from Surge, really dedicating each tool to each appropriate defense. Getting it done. RG gonna queue up in the back here from Surge, just try to get back to that Evo. As we approach triple elixir, much more likely that we're gonna see some dual lane pressure coming in, and that's where Titan has to pull off same, and that's gonna be a Hog Rider shot. That's not what Surgical wants. I was gonna say Surgical has to pull off great defenses and get that dual lane pressure, but with the Hog shot, as we get into triple elixir, very, very close game and not looking good for Surge here.
And Surgical Goblin goes into the weak side lane, this time with his evolved Royal Giant, and the Hog does get one more shot here. Evo Firecracker to defend. Fireball trying to open this up a little bit, but that Evo Royal Giant just splitting damage with 42 seconds left.
Great Ice Spear there to stop all the troops in the tracks. This Hog Rider seems a little bit too greedy, but no Fisherman and Cycle. Great recognition. Titan taking game 1, 1 HP. Hog Rider back around the back foot. Taking game 1 is Titan. Surge looking to pull this back, not out of it yet. Both players looking. Surgical has some Hog open. Titan, we saw him go with RG in game 2 after facing in the first game against Bob, so banned him in the back from Surgical. Some bridge.
Very interesting. Goblin gang in front, and some cards we're not seeing a whole bunch of lately. Spear Goblins, despite being very popular for a moment, have kind of fallen to the wayside. Now Mortar coming out, and now Dark Goblin and Goblin Gang for Surgical, and looking like he might be going with a bait variation.
Yeah, bait, a deck that Surgical very well knows and loves, as this morning gets 2 shots onto the tower. Cannon are going to do a great job of cleaning up these rascal boys and girls and transitioning with tempo. Skeleton King ability going to be popped. Surgical does have a log. I'm not sure if he's using it in this deck, but he did use that barbell in the first game. So also has some game 3 possibilities with Cycle if it gets to that point. It looks like Titan, I'm not sure if he's got a miner. I'm feeling like, okay, he does have a miner, but it felt like he could have comboed this cannon.
Oh boy. Oh my word. The miner gets in deep and opens up the lane for the cannon cart. Devastating damage dealt by Titan as we get just 41 seconds left before double elixir hits.
Yeah, Titan doing a great job of taking a commanding lead in single elixir. Surgical, not what he really wants to be doing when you're playing bait against a deck that you know you're going to have to control and contain the entire time. But in reality, it's super difficult for him to do that. This Mortar is always going to be a threat, and there's no cannon card or anything as such to clean it up nicely. I'm getting rid of 2 goblins, and as we approach double elixir rich, Surgical Goblin is swimming against the tide here.
959 remaining to 1597. Keep in mind that no small spell from Titan. Would have been nice to get some more Goblin barrels out earlier, but it's been playing from behind the entire time. Good Barbarians fully evolved to clean things up, and the arrows to get a little bit more damage, and just like that, Surgical Goblin right back in the conversation.
Fighting right back into the Surge, and now these rascals, they're going to do a good job of cleaning this off, especially if there's no skeleton ability does get it down. Wallbreakers and Gang going to do a great job of neutralizing this Mortar. Surgical has been arrows once again, but not splitting the Goblin barrel, maybe not getting as much damage as he would have expected. Miner going to come in to protect this guy. perfectly. This could be another solid defense from Surge, and this is crunch time.
So here we go. Sudden death overtime on its way. Poison cleans things up, creates a nice little lead for Titan, and now Surgical Goblin kind of in the danger zone. Mortar high, wall breakers trying to work. Mortar does not get a shot. Goblin's on the back. That Goblin getting tanked for. Surgical Goblin comes from behind and evens things up, sending us to game number 3.
Surgical Goblin with an MVP Goblin of his own to send this to game 3. Looking at the decks here, not too much cycle possibilities from Titan, already using Miner and Hog with some cycle cards. Surgical, however, mentioned, does have that log and cycle cards still available, so maybe looking to see some heavier decks from Titan and something more cycle based from Surge. Will he be making the first move in this one? Yes, he will. EQ already out in Titan. He's going out with the barbell. Could be a variety of things.
And going for Hog EQ, it looks like, for Surgical Goblin. There was a brief time when Earthquake kind of began to make its way into some other decks, some Royal Giant and some Electro Giant, but now it's firmly back in its true home, paired with the Hog Rider, and looking a little bit like Royal Giant for Titan here in the final game. And there we go.
Looks to be a rematch of our first game today when that Lumberjack just made its way to that tower, and with the raise support completely did work for Surgical this time around. It's kind of a switched up matchup. Let's see how Surgical Goblin is able to deal with this. And honestly, if the result is different this time around, Rich, from that of game 1, it just shows that one player either played it better, or they're not getting the same results with a flipped matchup.
Well, here we go. Those Goblins getting absolutely demolished, and the Ice Spirit does its job. No building available for this evolved Royal Giant, and it's going to get a lot of good damage here. Huge opening salvo, 1824 on that left-hand tower, courtesy of Titans RG.
Hog Rider coming hot, gonna be pulled by the Fisherman, not being able to lock onto the tower just yet. Is gonna get a shot here now that Electro Spirit goes down. Getting some damage back is Surgical after getting the bulk of that Evo damage. Man, that Evo with the rage from the Lumberjack is a danger. Approaching double elixir here. Both players have to look to apply the same tactics that we discussed. If you're Surgical, you got to defend and put pressure in at the same time. When you're playing same lane, it is a little bit more difficult because you can easily just feed a lot of elixir into a push. Evo Firecracker maybe gonna a little bit on the tower. Yes, it will. Wow, that is a lot of damage.
That's a huge amount of damage, and very important. You see Surge playing the Evolved Firecracker high, not given the opportunity for the tower damage bonus as his opponent takes the Firecracker off the board. Here we go. Ice Spirits cycling very, very fast right now. Surge is doing a really smart job of just trying to prevent that Royal Giant from getting in rhythm. Fishboy, does it go to the Hog? And it does, but a little bit too close. No shot from the Hog Rider. And this is now an opportunity for Titan to get back in control.
RG queuing up from the back. Fishboy going to get the pull on this Firecracker, but it is kept alive. No, gets taken down at the river. The Fisherman.
And now Royal Giant with the Lumberjack coming in the back. This time a little block on the Fisherman from pulling the defense against the Royal Giant, but keep in mind, Evolved Royal Giant should be right behind this one. And there we go. Is the Ice Spirit ready to stun and get the damage on? Bomb Tower, first one done, second one in cycle to hold. 1425 is the mark on the left-hand side to 1618, and that Fireball will take a Firecracker off the board.
Phoenix to pick up the Mighty Miner at the bridge. Bomb does get activated. Approaching triple elixir here. Titan doing a great job of applying a great amount of pressure. This Fisherman, however, is not going to be able to pick up the Hog until it gets one shot.
And that was absolutely huge. That shot necessary. And now we get into a situation. Mini, you know, you still have the breakthrough ability of the Royal Giant. The Hog can try to outcycle, which is much harder with these Fishermen now in triple. But how impactful is the Log EQ versus the Fireball at this stage? Oh my word, that Hog shot.
Hog shot huge, and the log EQ super good because the log itself can push back troops like the lumberjack, and the EQ can take away some skeletons when you're trying to get some cheap hog defenses. And you can also, if you're the hog player, you got to try to look for those high skeletons like we've seen that fisherman, but seeing like that firecracker and hog's so important for surgical. Already in EQ log range, and looks like this is also an up first set looking to be taken by Surgical and Vitor.
Very nicely played by Surgical Goblin. We see both players winning the Hog versus Royal Giant matchup. It all came down to game number 2. The marquee performance on the day right now for the former world champion. Let's take a look at some of the replays. This was game number 1 where the roles were reversed and Titan firmly in control here, Minnie.
Yeah, Titan, great job at pressuring for a consistent amount of time, but it just felt like Surgical played that so well. We saw such clean defenses transitioning into counter pushes, but at the end of the day, just felt like in that last matchup, Surgical played that Hog Rider deck to a T. He slipped up a little bit with the bait, taking a lot of damage early on, but this time around, only in an initial Evo RG that got to the tower, and after that, just seemed like control, and great pressure throughout from Surge to be able to take the set and put them up 1-0 in our grand finals.
This was game number 2, the winning moments. You had the brilliant prediction plays with the barrel plus arrows and that bandit taking, and that really was the swing game. Surgical Goblin going to bait, falling behind early and battling back, and then as you see here in game number 3, the roles reversed. It was Titan taking it when he had Hog versus the RG in game number 1. Same matchup flipped for game number 3, and Surgical Goblin essentially got a free blueprint to the matchup in game number 1, came back, flipped the script, and just devastating control in game number 2 to take what felt like a much easier victory than Titan had in the first one. And now we go into the second set. Surgical Goblin having given his team the lead. Vitor will be looking to close things out in Mega Draft. And Inthrill, who's had some great Mega Draft play and he's had some questionable Mega Draft play, now with the full stress of a $2,000 set on his shoulders, Minnie.
Yeah, the pressure is building. Like you mentioned, $2,000 difference in our grand finals. Backs are against the wall. This is the time where you have to deliver. This is a time where great players are separated from good players. It's how you respond to pressure. We'll get to our second set Mega Draft time. Looking at the pool of cards, Miner on the board, Log already taken by Intel, going the cycle route it seems. Let's see what Vitor picks up.
Arrows, Snowball, Delivery, Lightning, EQ, the spells here, and looking at possible locations for those minions, goblins, spear goblins, goblin barrel, so lots of bait cards out there, and Arrows probably the smart pick for Vitor with his first one.
Yeah, definitely playing it very passive, not committing to anything just yet, keeping all the options open. On Inthrill's side of the board, looks like he's going to be able to take the Monk. Makes the most sense, especially going up against the Monk. If you are taking the Monk, you want to be taking those cards that generally do well against him, so your opponent is forced to pick up the cards that are ranged, that do those projectile damages, and get value out of his ability.
Looking at the win conditions here, Miner Giant, Wall Breakers, Goblin Barrel, Goblin Giant, Skeleton Barrel, Pigs. You could say 3M in there. And honestly, 3 Musketeers in some situations in Mega Draft can be an absolutely devastating pick. So we'll see if someone does something interesting here as we get to the end of this draft. EQ for Vitor plus the Miner pick. Minnie, talk to me about that.
EQ's going to do a great job considering the amount of swarm cards on the table, especially against that Goblin game. Looking at the support cards, he can really make something happen with this Miner deck, especially with a Hunter. I like that Sosa took, getting clean defenses and getting consistent chip damage throughout. You can also pick up some wall breakers. While Inter looks to be going a little bit more heavy, looks like he may pick up some Royal Hogs. There's no bomb tower on the table, but gotta be careful. Maybe a Sparky Dark Horse pick could be picked up by Vitor in the later rounds of this draft to really punish Intro.
And Inthril does see the pigs, but he also sees the Valkyrie out there. Not a perfect counter, but keep in mind delivery as well. Doubt that Vitor would go triple spell in this situation. And of course, as you mentioned, the Sparky. But dual lane pressure currently being built here by Inthril.
Solid composition from both these players as Inthril commits to the... Interesting to see, Vitor does have arrows. It could potentially pick up a Hunter or a Skarmy despite the snowball from Inthril. But Inthril just being very consistent from the start of the draft with the swarm units. These barbarians are going to do a great job. There is no fireball or poison on the table. So Inthril looking to pull a surge in this one and take the game with bait.
And calling us out a little bit late here, but big thanks to Eric Onehive for bringing a huge raid to the Twitch stream. We are both on Twitch and YouTube for those of you watching along at home. And appreciate everybody coming along and enjoying this phenomenal tournament as Vitor does pick pigs as the final pickup, and that seems like he's opened up some huge options.
Yep, Goblin Barrel coming out for Inthril. Delivery from Vitor, quick and swift to get the defense done. No damage taken. And I'm interested to see how Vitor's couldn't go up against this bait. He's already getting value out of the EQ, but he's got to be careful to not overcommit throughout the entirety of this game, because the delivery feels like it's going to be forced either on the back or the front end of his side of the arena. And depending on how he uses it and what the supporting card troops, he could get overwhelmed, whether it's with the Goblin Barrel in the back while something tanks at the bridge, or maybe Inthril baits out the delivery in the back and completely goes in at the bridge, especially with that Skeleton Barrel, who could be extremely damaging if...
Well, we'll see how Vitor chooses to hedge that bet, splitting his pigs 2-2. And little pre-arrows there, or semi-reactive arrows to get the Goblin Gang off, and the lead opening up in both lanes right now. Vitor not with the arrows, so Goblin Barrel pushed the opposite direction, and there you have it. The delivery does take care of the Goblin Gang, but the pressure, or of the Goblin Barrel, but the pressure from the gang as it pushes across does get good damage in both lanes.
Counter push with the delivery and the Goblins coming swiftly. Double barrels are getting ready once again for Inthril, and Vitor's already gotten a decent amount of Royal Hogs with the miner. Very overwhelming for Inthril, as he doesn't really have a solid splash card to really deal with the Hogs. And you also have the added threat of a miner. Maybe we'll see a miner EQ to tank for the Royal Hogs. It's going to be really problematic for Inthril as we approach double elixir.
Well, it was a great final pick for Mini, right? Recognizing that there's no excellent counter for the Royal Hogs, no building to control them, no spell to damage them, and no splash damage. So now it's sort of Inthril being forced to really put a lot of pressure, really go hard on his offense and hope to catch. But right now we're seeing the devastating counter pushes here, because you see Inthril committing to that left-hand lane, but look at the right-hand side as pigs plus spear goblin or stab goblins come down, and they are getting a ton of damage done.
For the cleanup, and that is a lot of damage, like you said, Rich. Vitor just in control of this one. Might not going to pick up this Golden Knight, and just seems like Inthril's just attempts to get damage are always getting shut down.
Yeah, it's really difficult. You're up against two solid counters to your primary damage dealer, right? With both the arrows and the delivery, and so far Vitor able to not get caught sleeping. On the other side of it, though, it feels like Inthril didn't draft with his opponent in mind at all. When we get into the end here, you know, you're looking at, you have to be looking at the possible win conditions. Maybe he just assumed that Vitor was going to go purely with minor since he had gone that direction. But this is Mega Draft. People get flexible, and you know, you see Inthril just didn't pick up anything to hedge his bet against possible things like the Royal Hogs, and we're seeing the results right here.
Yeah, Vitor just completely out-drafting Inthril on this one, it seems. Win conditions galore. Not used to seeing minor combo with the Royal Hogs, but he's been doing a great job of swapping them in. Sometimes it's the minor getting damage, sometimes it's the Royal Hogs, and this time it's going to be the minor and the minions finishing the game off for Vitor. That's going to be match point for Vitor and Surgical.
That is a tremendous performance by Vitor. And now Inthral's got to go back to the drawing board with his teammate and really start thinking about, hey, how do we change our draft strategy here? It's been up and down for him throughout this competition, and you just see the result in this matchup. The absolutely no answer for the Pigs, and all the best answers, especially if the Pigs are split, well, they're susceptible to those arrows, and the Barb's just not able to really get involved here. So this was a really rough one overall for Inthril. And I as a quick note here before we jump back on screen, we recognize that Mini's mic has been having some challenges, so we're gonna do a little swap out and get Cashman back in here to join for the final bit of casting as we take a look at just a few more moments, the killing blow, as Inthril had to know it was all over. And Vitor now 1 game away from a championship with himself and Surgical Goblin, and doubling that money up to the $4,000 grand prize. And here, let's come back into the studio, as I believe, let me just double check here as I come back to the studio. We should have Cashman. There you go. Cash, you were going to take a nice little break here for our finals, but due to Mini's microphone challenges, we got you back here in the mix. Are you surprised at all, or are you also feeling a little bit devastated that I am now 1 game away from winning our predictions championship?
I'm not giving up hope yet. I am not giving up hope. All we have to see is Inthril just figure out, it's easier said than done, how to beat Vitor in draft, because we talked about how versatile Vitor is, and we saw it in the last game. You thought he was going one way, but he's like, no, I'm going to show you something completely different. We're going minor and we're going Royal Hog. So just showcasing his knowledge of Clash Royale and just showcasing his experience. And if you're Inthril, maybe you got to go with something crazy. Maybe you have to double down. I like how he went really bait heavy, but it didn't work. So what does he do? He starts off with a barb barrel, and it's a simple pick. Vitor, I like those picks a little bit more. Monk, very solid. There's not a lot of great counters. There's no Inferno Towers. There's no Inferno Dragon. There's no Zappies. There is an E-Wiz, but even that's not too bad. And then the Poison as well from Vitor is a great big spell. And Inthril going the bait route again, Rich.
Well, Inthril got a good read here, right? He saw that there was only one good small spell counter to anything, right? And that's the Barb Barrel. Snowball can get involved, but he saw that for the Goblin Barrel, if he wants to go there, only the one small spell counter. And he also saw, more importantly, Poison and Fireball both on the board, right? So he's happy with either one of those big spells, really. So he went and took the most important small spell, made sure he secured that. But you talk about Vitor's picks. Vitor picking up the Monk. When you look at the board between Executioner, Hunter, Cannon Cart, I'm a bit surprised to see Inthril pick Cannon Cart into that Monk. When you look at all those different possibilities out there, Vitor did a very, very smart play picking that Monk as his first choice.
Yeah, that is very perplexing. The Cannon Cart into the Monk, not going to get a ton of value. And that's an also interesting pick is the Executioner, but also a really good pick. Because if you look at it, it's good at dealing with the Skeleton King, all the skeletons that it spawns. It's good at dealing with the Goblin Gang. It's good at dealing with the Baby Dragon. And we're seeing a lot of splash coming in from Vitor to counter all the swarm of Inthril. I just don't know how Vitor finishes off his deck, because he could go with a Goblin Drill, maybe? That's the only... I don't really know where he ends this deck, because it looks good now, but it's not about what it looks like now. It's about what it looks like at the end when you have all 8 cards picked.
Yeah, King is definitely kind of a problem for that Goblin Drill. He was also maybe thinking about the recruits with the Executioner, doubling up on the splash. Maybe a bit interesting here, right? So we have Drill, we have 3 Musketeers, Goblin Giant, Hog, Battle Ram, Wall Breakers, and Goblin Barrel. It does feel like Inthril is going to be going for that Goblin Barrel as the final pick. Let's see. Lumberjack. Ooh. And man, so you
Lumberjack,
have
what? Yeah, what's the last card going to be?
I mean, Battle Ram, or this could even, you could have a weird 3 Musketeers deck here. Let's just see, because Inthril does need to pick a big spell. So Inthril doesn't pick a big spell, and he picks Drill into Dark Prince and Executioner. Honestly, I really like 3 Musketeers here for Vitor. He goes Hog instead.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I don't really like the Drill pick, because usually with the Drill, you have to support it with a Fireball or a Snowball to push units away from the Drill. That Drill, it shouldn't get any value on offense. And we've talked about this before. How do you win in Clash Royale? You have to deal more damage than your opponent. And I don't know if Inthril is going to be able to deal enough damage. And I think Vitor has a little bit of a matchup or a deck advantage in this going into this game. And we're seeing both players just waiting. And they're finally, we see the Skeleton King played at the back, and then we also see another champion played at the back, Vitor's Monk.
Well, I think Vitor looked at Inthrill and looked at the lack of a building pick, right? And went, oh, you can't really, you don't have any way to stop this building, so you're gonna have to overload with troops to stop this. And I have the snowball for your Goblin gang, and I have the poison if you try to stack on it. So I think he saw that and just felt like he had free damage for the Hog Rider coming in.
Yeah, and I think that free damage is going to come in right now on this right side. Bandit is going to come down, but that's not going to be enough. Hog is going to get at least 2 shots here, and still, this Executioner, it takes out the Spear Goblins, gets on tower, doesn't get the last throw, it does not, and then the Bandit, Vitor does have 5 elixir, this should be fine. Lumberjack comes down for the Bandit, and already, it's feeling like Vitor's in control. We saw in that first interaction, it was, they both played champions, then we saw the Ewiz come down. Okay, Executioner to counter the Ewiz. Okay, Baby Dragon to counter the Executioner. Then we saw minions to counter the Baby Dragon. It always seemed like Vitor had an answer to whatever Inthrill played, and that scares me for Inthrill, and that scares me for my prediction, Rich.
Well, talking about scary, thinking about the impact that the rage damage change has made to the Lumberjack, where there are certain interactions that would have been negative trades or would have been better trades, elixir-wise at least, for Inthrill, that now that the elixir does damage when it drops, certainly benefit Vitor more than they would have in a previous edition. So let's keep an eye on how that might shake out in some situations as Vitor gets his monk down into range. He's going to try to push this back. Nope, he'll go ahead and get the reflection, clear that off, and now has a pretty dangerous look on the left-hand side.
Yeah, but he has the Dark Prince for the Skeleton King. I don't see the Skeleton King being able to do much, and he sees the Baby Dragon on the left side. That means your minions are free to go on the right side, get a ton of value. And this Goblin Drill. What is this Goblin Drill going to do on the left side? Nothing. Hog Rider. Interesting that it came back to the drill. Very interesting interaction, but overall positive for Vitor once again. And this should be an okay defense for Inthrill. I just don't know where the damage comes from, because yes, he's going to be able to defend. Yes, he has tools. Other than that, the Hog Rider, you mentioned it already, that's going to get on tower every single time, and he can overcommit. Does Vitor, what's Vitor's last card? Was it a big spell? Poison, right?
Yeah, Vitor has poison as his last card. And, you know, that Hog Rider going back to the drill was actually a genius play out of Vitor. Very high IQ as he distracted the troops at the bridge, used it as a buffer, and got it to pop the Goblin Drill more quickly so the Lumberjack could get involved, knowing that he didn't have his best drill counters in hand. Very sharp play by Vitor.
Very clean. Very, very clean. He's getting maximum utility out of every single card he plays. Inthrill, the way I can see Inthrill winning is if he builds a big push and overwhelms Vitor. But the problem is there's also a poison, so you have a little bit of a safety net in that regard. And that poison is going to deal damage, especially if we see more of those poisons in the last minute and a half that we have remaining. That is damage. Inthrill doesn't have that damage. He doesn't even have a spell that can deal damage to this tower. And Inthrill, he's got to figure out something. I don't know what that something is, Rich.
Well, what he's doing right now is really smart. He's recognizing that whenever that Dark Prince gets cycled, that's the best counter that Vitor has for his drill, and so he's using the drill and forcing out a little over expenditure. And you see the Hog Rider being used to control. Every time the Hog Rider gets used on defense, it's not getting used on offense and not dealing that damage. So very smart stuff for Inthrill. I'm wondering how long Vitor keeps using that Dark Prince. He's kind of forced to use it, not on the Goblin Drill every single time, and that's really good opening for Inthrill. But this push right here, that's the real problem.
Yeah, Hog Rider gets on tower, and that's a shot. We see the poison come down. It's going to be able to take out that Ewiz, so now there is no counter push. Yes, we see the Skeleton King come down, but there's answers to the Skeleton King. Inthrill's trying to figure out, he's being creative with his attacks. He's going on the right side, he's going on the left side. He's trying to make Vitor uncomfortable, but Vitor has been showing what he's been doing this entire tournament. He's confident, he's calm, he can play Clash Royale, and he can play it as good as anyone right now. And because of that, Rich, I think I know what's going to happen with the prediction.
Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good about it right now, but Inthrill is certainly not, he's not rolling over, and he's doing the best he can to find a way, but just too much of a gap at this stage. Snowball to clear. The Skeleton King is in deep, but with 4 seconds left, Vitor is going to hold on, and there you go. Vitor and Surgical Goblin, your Snapdragon Pro Series Season 3 Clash Royale champions.
Rich, he's back! He's back! I'm going to say Vitor as well. I'm going to give it, I keep saying Surgical Goblin's back, but you know what, Vitor, not only, he didn't leave, but he's good. He deserves this championship. Both of them deserve this championship because it's a team game. It's a team format, and they both played amazing. There was no one person carrying the team. They worked together to achieve this accomplishment, and what an achievement it was.
And this team definitely showed depth, and that was probably the biggest thing to take away from all of it. The work here from Vitor, just, part of this is Vitor out drafting, and part of this is Inthril just making some really rough choices. And Vitor did a good job both in this set and in the set against Faust in the semifinals of forcing his opponents into awkward draft positions. And he just took full advantage here. No real good options for Inthril. Inthril really looking to confuse and create potential mistake opportunities for Vitor. Well, they didn't happen, and he's able to carry the day very, very nicely. Overall, just a brilliant performance here by this team. And keep in mind here, we never got to see what 2v2 looks like out of this duo in this competition. They got it done in the first two sets every single time, and they did that with great duel work on Surgical Goblin's part and really brilliant draft play from Vitor.
I love that. That's so funny. It's funny too because I wonder if they were practicing one. Let's say Vitor, he was practicing a mega draft. We got Surgical Goblin practicing those in-game duels, and they talk to each other like, "Hey, well, what about 2v2?" It's like, no. We're just gonna win. We're gonna win the duel. We're gonna win the mega draft. We're not even gonna practice 2v2. What do you mean 2v2? That's not even gonna be a thing that we're gonna have to deal with because we're gonna win, and that's exactly what they did.
Yeah, let's take a look at the journey that these two went on throughout this tournament between yesterday and today to get their championship. Set number one, Surgical Goblin dominant over Aslan, and then Vitor getting a nice little break there as Omer was a no-show. But today, against the most dangerous team, Doom and Faust, who took down Mohamed Light and Lucas, Surge and Vitor got it done in 2, and then finally 2-0. Didn't drop a set in this competition. Brilliant work by these two from top to bottom. And Cashman, you said it, Surgical Goblin is back.
It's official. It's official. And it feels bad because I was the one that said he's back. And then here I go in the last game. Let's pivot. Let's go to the Polish power. Let's go to the team of Inthril and Titan. And that was a mistake. You don't bet against the GOAT. You don't bet against the GOAT of Clash Royale for a reason. And I learned that the hard way because GG's, you got me.
Let's take a look. Do we have our final predictions count for the end of the day? Because I don't know if you guys saw that, but Cashman and I were tied going into the end, I think it was. And oh yes, look at that. Your predictions champion, Rich Slayton. That's me. That's who the prediction champion is. And man, very excited to have taken this. Honestly, I want to thank everyone at home, my family, my entire management team behind me, helping me get to this position today where I can now take a thing I will lord over Cashman nearly every single time that we talk. And Minnie, of course, too, who is still having some technical difficulties, but either way, I'm the victor there. Not going to get the $4,000 that Surgical Goblin and Vitor are taking home, but the pride, Cashman, that's enough for me.
Yes, you are the real winner of this tournament. Yes, you didn't win money, but you won the prediction battle, and you did it. You did it very well. You did it in style. And not only that, you just stuck to your guns. And that's it. I went maybe a little bit too emotional. I was going with feelings. I got a little bit too attached to winning. And sometimes when you just think about winning too much, you forget the process. And looking at what Surgical Gold and Vitor did today, they know the process. They know the process of playing Clash Royale. We've seen them do it for years, and they can just keep doing it. They just keep doing it.
Well, speaking of winning, you could be winning next time because this is the era of everyone here at the Snapdragon Pro Series. We have offerings in all sorts of games, including Clash Royale. So if you haven't yet, go ahead and join the Discord server so you can find ways to play Clash Royale, Brawl Stars, Clash of Clans, and even more of your favorite games happening within the Snapdragon universe at all times. Maybe we'll see you up here next time. And of course, follow us on all social medias for updates. Whether you're participating or just trying to find the results, all the information available on Twitter, Instagram, and everything else. Cashman, final thoughts on this weekend's competition? It's been a whole lot of fun.
It was the most fun I've ever had casting. With all the different game modes, I would love to see Clash Royale expand more on these modes because I didn't think I was going to like 2v2 as much as I did. It might be one of my new favorite modes. Mega Draft, I already know I love that one. There's so much more to Clash Royale, and I was so fortunate to be able to cast this because we saw some crazy moments. We saw Surgical Goblin be the Surgical Goblin that we remember, the Surgical Goblin that he can be. And also having a champion that's not named Mohamed Light, it just feels weird, but I don't know. I kind of like it.
It certainly was a whole lot of fun. And of course, all these modes will be making a comeback very soon because this is not the end of the Snapdragon Pro Series. It's the end of Season 3 of our Clash Royale Snapdragon Pro Series. We'll see you back here next time when we kick off Season 4. For everybody here at our show, for Mini Minter, for Cashman, I'm Rich Slayton, for the entire production squad who did a bang-up job this entire weekend. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you back here next time on the Snapdragon Pro Series.
Ain't got no time for no fear. I work too hard to get here. Ain't got no time for no fear. I work too hard to get here. I don't got the time, put me in, coach. I've been going hard, time to let it show. Everything raw, give it to me now. Let me have the spot, man, it's going down. Gotta get it here, I don't wanna wait. Take what I want, then I go train. Gotta get a win, I won't lose the game. This is my year, I ain't gonna break. Strap in, cause it's gonna be a long ride. Working on me every single day and night. There comes a time when your worlds will collide. If it's holding you back, push it right to the side.
On another level, I will never settle. Mind over matter, get the gold medal. On another level, I will never settle. Mind over matter, get the gold medal.
Ain't got no time for no fear. I work too hard to get here. Ain't got no time for no fear. I work too hard to get here.
On another level, I will never settle. Mind over matter, get the gold medal. On another level, I will never settle. Mind over matter, get the gold medal. On another level, I will never settle. Mind over matter, get the gold medal. On another level, I will never settle. Mind over matter, get the gold medal.
Ain't got no time for no fear. I work too hard to get here. Ain't got no time for no fear. I work too hard to get here. Ain't got no time for no fear. I work too hard to get here. Ain't got no time for no fear. I work too hard to get here. Ain't got no time for no fear. I work too hard to get here. I don't got the time, put me in, coach. I've been going hard, time to let it show. Everything raw, give it to me now. Let me have
The Snapdragon Pro Series powered by Samsung Galaxy is brought to you by Snapdragon Elite Gaming, Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra, Monster Energy, and DHL.
Welcome to the place where dreams come true, where everything you want can be yours, if and only if you're willing to work for them, you're willing to hurt for them, but most of all, you're willing to be first for them. Look, I'm going straight to the top. I don't know how I would stop, like it or not. I got some goals that I'm hitting. You hear what I'm spitting? It's hot. Look what I got. Whole lot of passion and pain. The road to success is insane. Stay out my lane, cause I'm on a mission. I'm getting what stands in my way. Yeah, I'm a beast. I wouldn't play with me, baby. The way that I'm training is crazy, and I do it daily. You wanna talk about drive? I got more drive than Mercedes. I've never been lazy. I'm in the room, it's a red alert. You wanna compete? Well, get better first. I got 10 toes in the dirt, push through the hurt just to show them my worth. I'm the best. Yeah, I'm the best. I never stress. I know what's next. I'm who they test, like we playing chess. But I'm unimpressed, so now let me flex. Yeah, I'ma work through the struggle and hurt, cause I know my worth, and I gotta be first. Yeah, I gotta be first. Look, I don't want anyone's sympathy. I understand what is meant for me. I give my focus and energy. If it's meant to be, then it's meant to be. But mentally, I'm undefeated. They hear that and say I'm conceited. Like there's no reason. Like I don't beat them and come back again just to teach them that when you work under pressure, you reach higher measures. They'll try and bring you down, but you cannot let them, and only get better and focus on cheddar. Eye on the prize and you'll become a legend. Like, when I'm in the room, it's a red alert. You wanna compete? Well, get better first. I got 10 toes in the dirt, push through the hurt just to show them my worth. I'm the best. Yeah, I'm the best. I never stress. I know what's next. I'm who they test, like we playing chess. But I'm unimpressed, so now let me flex. Yeah, I'ma work through the struggle and hurt, cause I know my worth, and I gotta be first. Yeah, I gotta be first. They don't know what's gotten into me, how'd I turn pain into energy. Through all the struggle and hurt, remember my worth, and that's why I gotta be first.